Good morning, New York City. It is 2:02 a.m., and you're listening to Taylor Ringold on the Fan. Ringold on the Fan. This has a nice ring to it. I know that was super corny, but I had to get out of the way. We have a lot to talk about this morning for the next 4 hours. I'm with you till 6 a.m. Jerry and Sal got the morning show at 6 a.m. Let's hope this weather gets out of the way and everyone can come to the office. I got Nick Mattina behind the glass, and of course, the great Bob Husler on the updates. Follow me on Twitter. Tweet at me with questions at Taylor Ringold, TaylorRingold. Of course, we'll talk Jets and Giants preseason. It's all wrapped up. Week 1 is on Sunday, 10 days away. And actually, I got a guest. 4 a.m. New York Giants second-round pick, linebacker Azeez Ojulari will join the show. I'm going to ask him a bunch of questions about training camp and what he's looking forward to in his first season in the NFL. And, of course, we'll talk about Zack Scott and the Mets. And we will definitely talk about Gerrit Cole and the Yankees. And if this team can actually go and actually compete in the playoffs. But before I even get into that, I do have to say one thing. It's an honor and privilege to be able to host a show at WFAN. I've worked here for almost 3 years now. I've been a fan of the Fan for as long as I can remember. So I'm excited. Enough about that. Let's get right into it. Gerrit Cole tonight, 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, and a lot of Ks. 15 strikeouts for Gerrit Cole. This is how you end a 4-game losing streak. You get Gerrit Cole on the mound, and you save this Yankee team from even losing more games. And not only that, the confidence goes down with this team. But they win the final game of the road trip. They go back to New York. They face the Orioles, which is a team you have to beat, and they will beat. But does this team have what it takes to make it to the playoffs, which I think they do, but I don't think this team's going to go very far. That's my question to you guys. Call the Fan. 877-337-6666 is the number. I want to hear from you guys. We'll take calls after the break. But the Yankees today, absolutely a stellar performance from Gerrit Cole. It's what the Yankees needed. And this was a Cy Young statement game for Gerrit Cole. It's a great way to end a road trip. Gerrit Cole on the season, 14-6, a 2.73 ERA, and 215 Ks right now. He's my Cy Young. I'm sure he's a lot of guys' Cy Youngs. Robbie Ray is another pitcher. Lance Lynn out of the White Sox is another guy in the American League that can go get this Cy Young award. But Gerrit Cole is the team Cy Young. He's the Cy Young in the American League, and he saved this team's ass right out of the gate. And the thing for the Yankees is, what we saw tonight, we saw Aroldis Chapman close out. Got a strikeout. He looked like the Aroldis Chapman of old. We've been seeing a real inconsistent Aroldis Chapman all year long. And as a Yankee fan myself, and the Yankee fans listening in right now, you got to be scared about that going into the postseason. That's got to be scary. You don't have a reliable bullpen. Now, this team has the best team ERA in the American League. But Chapman not being on his A game every single night, that's an issue. And as a Yankee fan myself, I'm livid every time he gets on the mound. I see a 3-run lead, I get nervous. And guess what? You should be. Because he's not consistent. And we have Loizaga coming into this game and pitched really well. It's like a match made in heaven. Cole, Loizaga, and then Chapman all doing their job. That's what we're going to see if the Yankees can actually go far in the postseason. Now, I think this Yankee team will be in the postseason as a wild card favorite. They're right now, they are in the number 1 spot in the wild card, 2 games up against Boston, which that whole team, that Red Sox team, is absolutely losing right now with the COVID issue. Almost half their team is getting COVID today. I think Bogarts was just announced that he has COVID. It's not a good time for a team to get COVID. I mean, in general, it's not good. But what I'm saying is it's bad timing for a team like this trying to push for a wild card or a playoff spot. I think no one's beaten and no one's going to catch up to the Rays. The Yankees have the last series of the year in October. The first week in October, they play the Rays. Now, that is a series that could be very important down the stretch. But I think the Yankees should focus in on that they want to get on wild card because that's what it's going to be. Now, for Gerrit Cole tonight, an unbelievable start. And since coming off the COVID IL, 4 starts, 24 and 2/3 innings pitch, a 0.73 ERA, and 39 Ks. Here's another stat for you. After Gerrit Cole, I'm trying to read all these stats here. It's actually unbelievable that he's tied for third most Ks when it comes to 11 plus Ks in a start. I can't even read these stats here. I have so much here. But what I'm trying to say is with Gerrit Cole, you need him to have some success throughout the rest of the season. 877-337-6666 is the number. Now, with the bullpen issue for the New York Yankees, it's not reliable. Now, the rotation could be an issue as well because you can't rely on Gerrit Cole the remainder of the season. He's going to do his thing. He's going to pitch 7-8 innings, strike out 12. It's what he's going to do. But Jameson Taillon, he was a nice story. He's been a great pitcher so far. But the last couple of starts, he hasn't been himself. You're going to throw Nestor Cortez. Look, say that the Yankees win a wild card game against the Sox, right? You're going to throw Nestor Cortez in a game 2 or game 3. It's just not going to work out. It's just not going to work out at all. Whatever team they faced, the White Sox or if it's the Astros, these teams are going to eat Nestor Cortez alive. But I think this team's going to make the wild card, but I just don't think they're going to go past that. The offense has been the juggernaut for this team during that 13-game winning streak. The double plays, that's been a real issue for this team. During the losing streak, they had 11 double plays. Now, during the winning streak, the 13-game winning streak, only 4. So, yes, the double plays have really killed the Yankees during the losing streak. But during this losing streak, we kind of noticed that we were seeing the June New York Yankees team when they went 12-14. A lot of things were going wrong, and it wasn't a team that we've been used to seeing. And I think for the Yankees, there needs to be a change going down the stretch of September. September baseball is the most important part of the year. The dog days of August the Yankees killed it in August, quite frankly. It's pretty obvious. 13-game winning streak, 21-8 in the month. Situations have been kind of figured out with Voit getting all mad about Rizzo coming in. Voit voiced his opinion on how he felt about not getting playing time, which he should be. I agree with him. He should be getting playing time. But at the same time, he's not good enough defensively on the field, but his bat is very important for this team. Rizzo playing first base better defensively. Kind of check those off the list. Having Stanton getting out of the DH role and playing in the outfield is very, very important for this team. He's a good defensive player. Not, a Joey Gallo type defensive player. Gallo's a Gold Glover. But you have Stanton, Judge, and Gallo in that outfield. You got a lot of all three of those guys have killer arms, and they all can play some sort of defense out there. Because Gardner's been playing great. Let's be honest, he's been playing great lately, but he's not going to be starting in the postseason. You just can't. He'll be that guy off the bench. He'd be that kind of guy, but it's just not going to be a starting outfielder for this team. Look. And there's a lot more question marks with this team, too. The fact that the Yankees can win games every time Cole's on the mound, but then it kind of gets sweaty when everybody else is on there. And Severino has been such a disappointment in the sense that we, as Yankee fans and the Yankees, were really, really hoping to get him on this team and really, really help this team win a game and win games down the stretch in September. As a Yankee fan, it's exactly what I want. But watching from this series, kind of dominated Ohtani in this game, Gerrit Cole shoving, and that's what you want. That's exactly what you want. But the thing with the Yankees and the Rays are just way too good. Yes, they lost tonight when they had a 9-game winning streak going. This Rays team is so deep. You start off with Wander Franco, who I think is on base streak. I think maybe continue tonight. The kid's 20 years old. And he's absolutely murdering it. Something that is honestly pretty impressive to see. And the Yankees don't have a stellar shortstop like the Rays do. The Yankees have look, Velasquez is a nice option. It's nice. But wouldn't they want like a Gleyber Torres from 2 years ago? Absolutely. And Gleyber's coming back. It says he's going to come back and be in the lineup for Saturday, which is something the Yankees are pretty happy about. But you're not going to get the Gleyber Torres of old. And it's quite frankly, it's pretty obvious, unfortunately. Torres, the one thing the Yankees did wrong with Torres is take him out from the second base spot and put him to shortstop. Clearly, that's been a huge shift in his overall play. He's getting hurt quite often. It's just not what you want to see. And Gio Urshela is on the day-to-day with a sore hand. He should be coming back very soon, but you need all these things to click. Now, with the shortstop position, is Velasquez and Torres could exchange spots and be platooning together? I think so. But I don't know, man. It's the confidence for me. Watching this team, winning 13 games in a row, they were doing everything right. And during this losing streak, a lot of things were very unlucky, which is tough. But the one thing with Cole that you can rely on is that he will go out there every single time. And you saw tonight the relationship with Boone. He's 101 pitches deep in the sixth. He gets into the dugout and he looks at Boone and shakes, nope, I'm not going anywhere. That's what an ace and that's what a workhorse does. And the Yankees have been looking for a guy like that for a long time, and they have their guy, and he's locked up for a while. So Yankee fans should be very, very happy. And communication is super key with teams like this. Going down the stretch into the playoffs, you need that relationship. You need that confidence. But is the entire bullpen going to be there? Cole will be there. Maybe the rotation might be there. But this bullpen is really, really sketchy. Now, I played a little baseball in my time. I played college baseball at SUNY Purchase College. Now, this is totally, I know I'm not comparing which, pros to a D3 comparison here, but being around baseball, having confidence down the stretch in late games, and having confidence late in a either playoff run or you're trying to push to get first place in the middle of June, whatever it is, confidence and consistency are two huge things that the Yankees need to keep going and actually need. And tonight you saw that. Aaron Judge coming to Savior with a 30th home run of the year. He's become a player that, we haven't seen this type of Judge with a pretty decent average. He's at 299 right now. We haven't seen that at all, the average wise. And we're seeing a lot of good at-bats with Aaron Judge. He has 30 bombs. We have Stanton, who's on fire. Luke Voigt has had a really good season. But these are the guys that need to consistently play well. And it's like the tale as old as time. When September hits, it's like a switch needs to go off. And that switch needs to go off right now. It's September 2nd. I'm host on the Fan. I want to be able to talk about these Yankee teams going forward and with confidence that this team is going to win games and play really, really well down the stretch. There's teams like the Houston Astros and the Chicago White Sox and the Rays. Could the Yankees beat any of those teams? No. Quite frankly, no. I would love the Yankees to prove me wrong. The White Sox have the most depth pitching-wise, in my opinion, in the entire league. With Lance Lynn, Dylan Cease, Giolito as the big three horsemen in that rotation. And then you have Crochet and Liam Hendricks and Craig Kimbrell and Ryan Tepera in that bullpen for the White Sox. You think the Yankees... Look, the offense for the Yankees has been very impressive the last month and a half or so, but do you think they can go face off against this White Sox team in the playoffs? No, I don't think so at all. I don't think so. The rotation for the White Sox and the bullpen, the pitching overall is so good for this team. And the offense for the White Sox can match right there with them. With Abreu and Moncada. They have a ton of offensive power. Even Grandal, who strikes out it seems like every at bat, but he puts the ball in play. And the Astros, wouldn't it be nice to see the Astros and the Yankees in the playoffs for what the Astros did to the Yankees? They cheated. Altuve Chapman rematch in the playoffs. That would be nice. That would be awesome. But I don't think it's going to happen. 877-337-6666 is the number. I want you guys calling in. After the break, I'm definitely going to be talking about that. I want to hear your calls, and also tweet me at Taylor Ringold, TaylorRingold. There's a lot of question marks for this team. That's the biggest one, is this bullpen, and will they actually go far in the postseason? My opinion is no. I've said that like about 4 times so far tonight, and I'll probably say it a bunch of more times tonight. Now, for the New York Mets, we'll talk a lot more about that after the break, but I do want to tease a little bit right now. Zack Scott, I mean, this team just keeps every day, it seems like there's something new. Zack Scott, a DUI. He was at a fundraiser involved with Steve Cohan and comes home drunk, driving drunk. First of all, you never want to do that, ever. Plain and simple, stupid. But the fact of the matter is that this is just another New York Met collapse, another New York Met collapse going on. It just, when is this team going to actually figure it out and stay out of the negative side? Stay out of page 6. Stay out of that. Try winning some ball games. We'll talk more about that after the break. So my question to you guys is, right now, for these Yankees, does this team have what it takes to make the playoffs and compete in the playoffs against these powerhouse teams? This is Ringold on the Fan. We'll be right back.
Hey, Al, you ready? Let's do it. Yeah.
Back on the Fan. I love that song. I absolutely love that song, Nick. It's the best. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here, Ringold on the Fan, till 6 a.m. 877-337-6666. We got callers on. We're going to go with Jay right off the bat here. Jay from Brooklyn. What's up?
Hey, how are you doing? I just had 3 quick points. First of all, do you think Gerrit Cole has the consistency, being that in the beginning of the year after the whole sticky stuff thing, he did give up like 6 runs in one game. Do you think he could go through the postseason and we could totally rely on him? Also, what about Chapman? Do you think he's got over his stuff? And then do you think they're relying on the Linebacker too much and putting him in too much, and then the postseason will just burn out?
Jay, I'm going to go with that second. Actually, your third question about Loizaga stretching him out too much. I think that is definitely a thing that they're doing, but it's like they need to use somebody consistent. Britton's out for the year. There's not a lot of consistency through this rotation, and Loizaga has been a guy that the Yankees could rely on. Now, yes, I do agree with you that there is something called, overusing a pitcher and putting some guy on such a, workhorse mentality, and he could be way too tired going into the postseason. What was your first question about Cole? You rattled off 3 right off the bat.
No, just to follow up on the Loizaga, this is the most he pitched in his whole, I think, career in one season. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're absolutely
by a far shot.
Yeah, absolutely, Jay. Yeah, but this is what happens when you are in a playoff team and you're part of a playoff team. You have to perform, and if you are performing at a pace that Boone's gonna like, guess what? He's gonna use you, and he's gonna use you a lot. And Loizaga is young enough and strikes out a lot of guys, and also he throws so damn hard too, which is really nice at the back end of your bullpen. And I know you said something about Gerrit Cole and his was it the sticky situation you mentioned, or the consistency? What did you say?
Yeah, I was just saying that he did have a rough time coming off that whole sticky situation. If you think that he's over it and now he's just dominant, the same dominant ace that he was when they signed him, or you still worried about him a little bit in the postseason?
Yeah.
Or moving forward.
I think that whole situation with the sticky situation and how he really butchered that press conference when asked, do you use it? And he was about 30-second pause. I remember I was working here at the Fan overnight, and I was looking at the postgame, and I was like, or the pregame, and I was like, this can't be real, right? This cannot be real. At the time, you can definitely notice that with that going on, it did get under his skin. It did really hit him hard. And it was almost obvious, right? Spin rate was super low. He was getting rocked, but then he's forgotten about it. Clearly. And that's what you need out of an ace. When you have a couple rough starts, you need to push. And that's what the Yankees got. They got a guy that can push through and throws 125 pitches, complete game. Now he goes and throws over 100 pitches in this outing. Jay, this is what the Yankees got, and they need it. So, Jay, thank you for calling in. Our next caller here, I think, is okay. He hung up here. So, John from Staten Island. John, you're on the fan.
Hey, good morning, Taylor. Good show. Hey, I had a question if we could back up a second. You were saying before how when the Yankees were in the 13-game win streak, it was like they were doing everything right. But now, as they have to prepare for the next 20 games and make adjustments so that they can get through the next 20 games healthy, are teams really scared to play them anymore?
I think teams are definitely – it's a great question, John. I think teams are definitely scared to play this team. They know what the offense is. They got a lot of power bats: Gallo, Stanton, Judge, Luke Voit, Anthony Rizzo, LeMahieu. There's a lot of options in this lineup, and they should be scared. But it's about consistency. They're in this 4-game losing streak, John. 11 double plays. I read that before. 11 double plays. That's the bad consistency, but we need really good consistency through this Yankee offense. And during that 13-game winning streak, we saw everything click. We were all questioning, was Luke Voit going to actually, kind of get the ego past him and say, I want to play first base. I'm a first baseman. You guys have seen what I've got. He's adapted to the DH role. We're, as Yankee fans and callers calling in all the time on the fan, we're always worried about, is Stanton going to translate from mostly being a DH during his Yankee tenure here and put him in the outfield where he belongs and where he was actually good as a Florida/Miami Marlin. And we've noticed now that he should be playing out there. So during this whole winning streak, we noticed a lot. We learned a lot from this team. And I guess what? Everyone in the American League learned a lot from this Yankee team. But will they actually go far in the postseason? My answer is no.
Well, I mean, did they learn a lot from the 4-game losing streak also and see that as a kink in the armor? Or are they still quite as scared as they were?
I think they're still scary, but during that 4-game losing streak, when you go down in these ruts and you individually you play poorly, or as a team you play poorly, you learn a lot about yourself and learn about what's going on with this team, and they've definitely adapted through. And look, the Angels aren't this last series against the Angels, they're not a great team, but the offense does stick out with some players, including Shohei Ohtani, who is the best offensive player and the best player in the game. And you got Jared Walsh, and there's not really other amazing guys in that lineup, maybe Justin Upton or, of course, Joe Adell. But the Yankees definitely learned a lot, and honestly, losing and finishing off August and opening up September with a win is exactly what this team needs. John, thanks for calling. Mark, you're on the fan. What's up?
Hey, Taylor. How's it going?
What's up, Mark?
My question is about the Mets and Steve Cohen's first year as owner here. Is this arguably the worst first-year ownership any franchise has seen in the history of sports? Because it seems like everything has gone wrong for this team, both on the field and off the field. What can Steve Cohen do this offseason to make sure this does not happen again next year?
Mark, that is a great transition because I really want to get into the Mets going into the next half hour and honestly into the next hour at 3 a.m. on. This is exactly what Steve Cohen needs to do. What he needs to do is he needs basically a total rebuild change. And I think your question about, is this the worst start for an owner in any sport? Yeah. Mark, yes, it is. You start off in the calendar, like this calendar year, 3 major things have happened for this team. You have what happened last night, with Zack Scott, you had Gerrit Porter to start off the year, and then you had Mickey Callaway throughout this year with what he's done in the past. So you have those three just by itself, no players involved. And then you have early on in the year with Lindor and McNeil going at each other under the rug, And then you have this past week, which I really want to get into, is Javy Baez and Lindor and the rest of this Mets team going thumbs down, booing the fans. But yeah, Mark, totally agree with you. This has got to be the worst start for an owner when an owner comes in, jumps right in on a franchise. Now you are a Met fan, correct? Are you? It seems like you are.
I am a Met fan. That's why this has been a tough year for us all.
Now, as a Met fan, what do you want to see happen? I know you asked me, but I'm going to ask you right back as a fan, and I'll give you my perspective. What do you want to see happen with this team going forward into next year? Who needs to go? Who do you want
everyone needs to go. I think everyone needs to go. I think Sandy needs to go. Obviously, the guys Sandy's brought in need to go. I don't hate Rojas. I don't love him. I think he has potential to be a good manager. I just don't know if he's ready for it in New York just yet. And I think they need to bring in just a big name baseball executive. Theo Epstein is out there. Someone like them that needs to come in here, lock it down, don't get any trouble with the media, with the fans, with the law, and just try to get this team back. Hopefully, like every other team, with no distractions off the field, and it's just all about on the field.
Mark, thank you for calling. Exactly. There needs to be a lot of change, and I like how you mentioned some guys, and maybe some guys that are even out there to replace maybe, Rojas or Zack Scott or even Sandy Alderson. I think Sandy Alderson is a guy where, he's been very subpar here, kind of in his whole tenure as a Met, being a GM, going somewhere else, and then coming back to be the team president. Mostly a failed team president. He has to put out a press release and go talk to his players and say, hey, guess what, guys? You're doing the wrong thing. So there's step one. Alderson needs to go. I don't know who files in and comes in and tries saving this team at that level. I don't know who that would be. Maybe callers come in, maybe give me their advice and what they think. The number is 877-337-6666. But I think Zack Scott's 100% obvious choice needs to go. At the deadline, you go get Javy Baez. At first, Met fans, and as a fan, baseball fan in general, I look at this and say, look, I like this move. Javy Baez is a decent guy. He only leads the league in strikeouts, unfortunately, which is not good on a team that really doesn't hit well in the last couple months. Has been struggling offensively. In my opinion, I think Zack Scott failed at that part. Now, Baez is a viable option, a nice trade asset to get and put in the middle of this order to help this offense push, but they're not going to be pushing anywhere because I know they're not making the playoffs. I know it's cute. They won 2 wins in a row to end the month. They're supposed to play tonight, but going into September, they're on a 2-game winning streak. Like, no, dude, no. It's all cute. And it's just, this team is garbage all the way throughout. And the fact of the matter is Zack Scott is another guy who needs to go. And frankly, I really wanted the Mets to go get either an Adam Frazier. And Adam Frazier has been a guy who has been struggling an unreal amount in San Diego. At first, at the deadlines, Frazier is leading the league in hits, leading the league in average, and that is clearly not the case now. But Chris Bryant was definitely the number one trade option at that time, and he would have fit perfectly in this lineup with a lot of struggling guys. And Chris Bryant could play everywhere, third and first. He can play the outfield spots as well. So a versatile player like that is nice to have. But with Zack Scott, you have that issue. You got Baez, but you didn't get really other pieces, like maybe another starting pitcher. You have Carrasco came back. He's been crappy since he's been back off the IL. DeGrom is out, and they should absolutely shut him down for the rest of the year. Stroman has been the one consistent player all year long for this pitching staff. And you've had nights here and there where Diaz is pitching decently well, but he's not. For Met fans, you guys are scarred over Diaz in the back end of the bullpen. Familia needs to get shot to the sun. He's terrible. But there's not pitching was definitely, I think, an option they should have went for. And then, of course, you have what just happened in the last 24 hours. Zack Scott was at the amazing Mets Foundation charity event on Monday night at Steve Cohen's Connecticut home. And then he gets pulled over for a DUI. What sort of leadership? There's no leadership there. He's out misbehaving, not doing what he's supposed to do. First of all, in his job, he's not doing what he's supposed to do. And then he goes out and gets a DUI, and it's just another black eye on this Mets team. And what's really funny is on August 10th, Zack Scott was, criticized his own players for not taking accountability for, staying healthy and being. Isn't that funny? It's like so ironic. And he said, among things, he said, we've got to take ownership of your career and your health. And it's pretty ironic that he has to take accountability of his own health as well. DUI, he's a mess. And then there's Rojas. What do the Mets do with Rojas? Personally, me, I like Rojas. I like him. Sounds like a nice guy, baseball mind. I don't think he's a fit here in New York, unfortunately. You need, you just need a better manager. That's what you need. And at the end of the day, he's going to be gone. Scott's going to be gone. And so is Sandy Alderson. And that's just unfortunate. 877-337-6666 is the number. Call in. I want to hear you guys talking about this Mets team. I want to hear you guys being so upset about this stupid team. Because as a baseball fan, you could say this is the biggest disappointment all year. Overall baseball, right? The only thing the Mets did right this year was not sign Trevor Bauer. That's the only thing that's right. Met fans were so livid. Oh, my God. We hate Bauer. Screw him. Whatever. At the end of the day, you made the right decision, and that's the only good decision you guys have made. Getting Gerrit Coles as the GM. He was here for a sip of coffee. See you later. Also, see you never. And now you have Zack Scott being the interim GM. Really hasn't done much right. And then you add what last night, you're just adding insult to injury. It's almost like it's not real. It doesn't seem like a real thing. But what options are out there for the GM spot is a guy named Theo Epstein. I wish he was the GM coming into this Mets season with Steve Cohen taking ownership of this team. He has everybody and anybody to go out and get. Now Theo Epstein, he's cooking, he's chilling in the Major League Baseball offices here in Manhattan. He's having a good time. He's doing his thing. But why wouldn't you go give a call to Theo Epstein? Pick up the phone and start dialing. That's a line from what's it called? That movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm forgetting right now.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. That's why Nick's the man. Nick got me right there with the line. I said it perfectly to it. It made so much sense. But I couldn't think of the line of the movie. But yeah, pick up the phone and start dialing. He's got nothing going on. He's doing some sort of administrative stuff with Major League Baseball. It's a nice name in the offices. And it's not like you're going to a team and asking for Theo Epstein, right? Theo Epstein's contract's not up. You're going to go to the lead office. You're like, hey, Rob Manfred, can we take this guy from you guys? And Theo Epstein is definitely more than capable of changing and fixing a team. You ever heard the Red Sox and the Cubs, the biggest droughts ever when it comes to winning a World Series? And he did that. He shaped this team around, and he got them to winning formula. And that's what this team needs. And this team also needs leadership, too. I'm going to talk about leadership on this team, which they don't have. Leadership is very, very important with every team, but the New York Mets don't have it. I'll discuss that right after the break. Ringold back on the fan. My boy Action Bronson. I love Action Bronson. Nick, are you an Action Bronson fan? You know who that is?
I know who it is. I never listened to him a lot.
I love his music. This is just an instrumental because you can't play the music because a lot of cursing going on. You can't do that. Back on the fan, 877-337-6666. It is 2:45 a.m. New York City. My producer here, Nick Mattina, gave me a nice update here with the weather going on outside. It's not good, kids.
No, it's still crappy.
Yeah, it's still bad. There was a citywide shutdown, no transportation, and now it seems like the LIRR is closed. So we could be here forever. So I guess we can kind of sit back and relax and just kind of get comfortable here.
24-hour show.
Hey, whoa, I don't know if I have enough content for 24 hours. You know, I'm here with you guys till 6 a.m. 877-337-6666. We got Kevin from Staten Island. Kevin, you're on the fan. What's up?
Hey, good morning. So I think the whole situation with the Mets GM, obviously Theo Epstein will be a good choice, has the pedigree that everyone knows about. But it was reported that he wanted part of ownership to come. And if so, would you give that to him? I personally wouldn't. Would that be something you would offer? Because as we've seen, a guy could do something, get fired, and to me, it's not worth offering that. So
Hey.
it's interesting to take on that.
Yeah, Kevin, that's a great take. Honestly, if Steve Cohen would give up ownership, I mean, look, Steve, it was so hard for him to even get the ability to buy and own him and own the Mets, excuse me. So it took forever. A lot of different, you had Battle A-Rod and a bunch of other people trying to buy out the Mets, and he has now ownership of them. The Wilpons, I don't think they have ownership of the Mets anymore, but they have ownership of SNY. But if you want to give a little piece, like what's the percentage? What is the percentage you want to give to Theo Epstein for him to come over? I don't think giving up percentages is going to work for Steve Cohen, but maybe give him some more other incentives. But I would love, if I was Met fan, why wouldn't you want to take Theo Epstein? He's been probably, you could say, one of the best general managers of all time. He will be in Cooperstown in that category. And so will Cashman, but with Theo Epstein's different than Cashman. Theo Epstein changed two organizations that were a laughingstock of baseball. Now, the Red Sox were making the postseason in those 90s and 2000s, not as much in the 90s, but in the early 2000s, they had powerhouse teams, but they weren't getting it done because the Yankees were kicking ass. And now with the Cubs, that division was pretty stacked going forward in 2016, right? You had the Brewers were a pretty good team. The Cardinals are a good team. So, and even before that, the good teams like the Pirates there was an era where the Pirates were actually really good. So having Theo Epstein change the Cubs around, change the Red Sox around, I know it's a lot, like there's a lot on a nice resume for him, but I don't think Steve Cohen and his ego would give up a percentage. It's like, does that make any sense, Kevin?
Oh, it does. And just the one comment, unfortunately, the Mets, the Wilpons still have 5% ownership of the Mets. So there still is that stench attached to the team. But yeah, Theo Epstein obviously is going to be in the Hall of Fame for what he's done. So he would be a great hire. But when we look at the couple of hires that the Mets had, obviously besides Porter and Zack Scott, it's an embarrassing situation for him personally and the Mets organization. But that was an unknown. It wasn't something, he didn't have previous history, not something that come up on a background check. And so the guy's out a few months after being hired. Also, when you look at some of the decisions, as much success as Theo has had in Boston, in Chicago, you sign players. Not that I was necessarily in favor of the Lindor trade. I can also say that I would have forecast that he was going to have the year that he had. Nobody thought that McNeil would necessarily hit 50 points below his career average, and Conforto, and so on and so on. So sometimes even what might be a good decision may not work out. So there's no guarantee with Theo. So and again, I asked that question because he reportedly, when he left the Cubs, would only go to a position that offered ownership stake. which to me, I couldn't do that if I was Cohan or if I was even just Kevin from Staten Island. I couldn't offer. You offer money, of course. You could always get out of money if you get fired for cause, but ownership, you give a percentage of a team, it's fine.
Yeah, it's not going to happen though. You know, I at the end of the day, you have to realize that yes, it is a business, and Theo Epstein has a future. Thank you, Kevin, for calling. You know, Theo, smart dude. He's a young cat. He understands what it's like to change an organization. And look, the resume shows, and I understand he wants to maybe go get some percentages, right? But it's just not going to happen. And was Zack Scott given a situation that was kind of unfair? Yeah, absolutely. You know, Jared Porter, who was this young guy coming in, a lot of experience, a lot of people liked him, and then he's out, and quickly Zack Scott is now the interim GM, and so he's throwing a lot on his table, and there's a lot of blame going on, which deservedly so, and also there's sometimes that there's situations where, like, it is unfortunate for Zack Scott to get some of the blame. You can't get the blame for how Conforto's playing. Conforto, since he's been back, he's batting basically around the Mendoza line. Did he have a nice game in the final game of August, right? This past couple days. Yes, the big 2-run home run. I think it was a 2-run or 3-run home run, but it was the sweet swing of Conforto that Met fans have been seeing the past couple of years. But overall, guys, he's not playing well. And you have that happening. And Kevin rattled out some names. McNeil, man, you suck too. Nick, I can go off for hours on the New York Mets, and I might. I honestly wanted to open up with the Mets, but since Gerrit Cole struck out 15, it was pretty obvious to open up with them.
I feel like this season alone, you can go for the whole 4 hours if you wanted to about the Mets, but I don't know if anyone wants to hear that for 4 hours.
Yeah, I know, because guess what? You know, Jerry and Sal will probably pick it right back up at 6 o'clock, you know? But I do, but it's when I was prepping for this show and trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about, I really wanted to talk about this New York Mets team, because it's like you can write a movie about how bad they've done, and not only a movie about how bad they've been, but an overall movie about just the antics and the drama involved. It seems like a reality TV show mixed in a, Warner Brothers movie. It's all mixed together. And guess what? This would make a lot of money on the box office. I'd be watching it. It's so unfortunate. I got friends that are Met fans, and they just can't take it anymore. And if you're Steve Cohen, this is your first year as an owner, and all this is happening. Well, I feel like it only can go up from here. You have players that are not performing. You have players calling out fans, which I definitely want to talk about. I'll probably wait for that after the update with Bob Husler at the top of the hour here. But you have all this stuff together under Steve Cohen's watch. And to top that all off, Steve Cohen is live tweeting during games, and also waking up in the middle of the night and tweeting about other just nonsense. You're talking about your players' OPSs and how it shouldn't be this hard to get on base. Steve, get off Twitter. Remember he started tweeting a lot, and then he deleted it, and then he brought it back? Like, you should have just left it where it was. Now, personally, I liked it sometimes where he was tweeting and it was fun tweets. And he said something along the lines like, I thought the black jerseys would be more controversial in this. And I was talking about the booing of the fans and the thumbs down stuff, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But there needs to be a total rebuild stage. And that goes along with guys not coming back next year when I'm talking about players. Conforto, see you never. He's on a 1-year deal, $12 million. He's not coming back. Dom Smith signed on the cheap, 1 year, $2.5 million deal. He's just not producing. The thing about this free agency, there's a lot of players out there, including a lot of shortstops. And that one shortstop is out there is Javy Baez. Will he get re-signed? I don't think so. Now, I talked about leadership. I'll talk about this right now a little bit, and then we'll talk more about it after the break. There's not a lot of leadership on this team. One of the leaders, you have Pete Alonso, who's also kind of weird with the leadership. Like, he almost tries to play off how bad they are. It's like, oh, we're just struggling. We'll get back into it. There's bright spots. I understand about being positive. I'm a positive guy 90% of the time. But it's like you need to be realistic at times, Pete. You got to be realistic. Like, oh yeah, we suck. We're just not good right now. You have to be realistic. That if you want to just change a whole mindset, being realistic with yourself and being realistic with your teammates makes the fan base honestly like you a little bit more. Because if you're BSing them, it's just not going to work out. Pete's here for a little while. He ain't going nowhere. Dom Smith, Conforto, gone. Those aren't really, you're not seeing a lot of leadership with those guys. McNeil is another guy. You're not seeing a lot of leadership because remember the beginning of the year with Lindor and him were kind of going at it in the tunnel and they said there was some sort of rodent issue, whatever it was. I almost kind of like forget about that. It was so long ago, but I can't believe it was all in one season too. So, and even with other guys that have been performing better as of late with Lugo and, Edwin Diaz. I remember when Edwin Diaz was on the Seattle Mariners and he was getting Cy Young votes for how good he was as a closer, his ERA under 1. And then the fact that he comes to New York in the Robinson Cano trade and, Kelenic goes off in that trade. And, he's been struggling, but he's going to be playing a lot for the Seattle Mariner team, which are trying to make a push right now. They're only 3.5 out of the second wild card spot. But it's clearly showing that the Mariners won that trade. And losing Cano because of steroids. Look, I'm even forgetting stuff. And like Cano is like that. Was that even in the offseason? I don't even remember. That was definitely offseason, right?
I'm not too positive when it started, but it just reminded me. I don't know if you've ever seen that picture online. It's been like a meme for a while, but it's like the very small domino, and then the guy pushes it, and it leads to a much bigger domino. Like, what could you settle as that starting point at the very small domino?
Dude, there's so much you can just put like
David Wright leaving the Mets.
I guess him retiring, and then that's years and years of depression and horrific events going on for this New York Met team. There's been some bright spots for this New York Met offense. Jonathan Villar has been a nice addition to this team. Sign him to a 1-year deal. Go re-sign him. He's been pretty viable option off the bench, playing all over the infield. But the guy that needs to change in every facet, it's obvious to everybody, and it's Francisco Lindor. It is obvious. Of course, batting in the 220s is not what you want as a Met fan. And guess what? He doesn't want it either. And I know Bob Hughes was doing the updating a little bit, and he's the biggest Met fan in the world, and he's probably not happy with what I'm about to say, but he's not a leader. He's so subpar right now. It's honestly really sad to see because he's better than this. He's an all-star shortstop for the Cleveland Indians. Now, it's totally different markets, but you saw leadership there with that young core of Indian players. You saw leadership from him. Going into the playoffs, going into the World Series, clutch at bat. But where is the leadership now? That's where I'm confused about. Where is the leadership? And it doesn't start off. You really haven't seen much of it at all in his first year as a New York Met. You're going to see this for the next 10 years? Can Met fans actually be okay with that? As an outsider, I'm livid just watching this unfold. He's better than this. And adding insult to injury with the thumbs down stuff, it's just, you're adding insult to injury. It's immaturity. And I'll tell you more about the leadership stuff. Because there's been other players, New York athletes, that have gone through the boos and gone through the countless times of you suck, you shouldn't play here, we don't want you playing here type of backlash. But guess what? They fought through with it. And I have a quote that I will read off after the break here. 877-337-6666 is the number. I want you guys calling in. Grieve with me when we come back. It is 3 a.m. Eastern Time, New York City. Back with you at the Fan. Taylor Ringold here. Ringold on the Fan. God, I love this song too. I'm bringing all the good hits here. That's what I've been doing. I'm going to do that all night long. I'm going to bring the hits. And remember, at 4 a.m., I got an interview with second-round pick Azeez Ojulari from the New York Giants, talking everything training camp with him. Nice, solid 9.5, 10-minute interview with him. And then we'll take your questions right after that at the top of the hour at 4 a.m. after Bob Husler with the update. Now, I talked about it coming out of the break, before the break, about leadership with the overall New York Mets. I'm having people message me on Twitter talking about Steve Cohen's leadership, which is something that needs to be there. There needs to be leadership there. And we'll see leadership from him going into the offseason. All these guys are going to be gone. Rojas, Scott, Alderson, they're all going to be gone. But a guy that's not going to be gone is Francisco Lindor. That's a player that's going to be here for quite a long time. And right before the break, I gave the topic out to you guys about leadership and where he's going to be at with his leadership skills. Look, 10 years, $341 million. Damn it, you need to have leadership. That's just what it is. You need to have leadership with you. All these qualities, great personality, great team player, leadership has to be there, and it's not. Confidence was always there, but you can see that when he's hitting, his confidence isn't there. Look, opening up the season, 100% you're going to be nervous going up to the plate. March 31st, he gets the contract. He gets the contract extension. And then you got opening day right around the corner. So there's all these expectations. And if you don't fulfill those expectations, the fans are going to boo you. And Lindor, if you're hearing this, which I probably know you're not, but I wish you are, you need to change the way you handle yourself as a leader. Now, there's a guy by the name of Derek Jeter. In 2004, he was struggling. And guess what? I'm sure he struggled a few more times during his Hall of Fame career. But he was asked about getting booed in 2004. There's really no date here, but I'm reading a quote here from @JustinDiamond on Twitter. He posted this, over 7,000 likes on Twitter. It says, "I don't blame him," Jeter said, "after watching his batting average dip to 197 with another 0 for 4 night. We would have booed ourselves tonight. It's hard to imagine being worse than we are tonight. Put me at the front of that list." See, that's what a leader does. A leader owns up to what they've done wrong and how they're continuing to make mistake after mistake. You think Eli's been booed before? Guys, yeah. If you're in your 20s, even 20s are up. You watched Eli Manning do really well here, win 2 Super Bowls, and also play really, really bad football. Do you think he was affected by a booze? No. Yeah, it was probably pissed him off. He was upset, but he's not lashing out to his own fans. You think Mickey Mantle has ever been booed? I'm sure he did. I don't know. But guess what? At one point in your career, you're not going to perform at the highest level. That's just how it is. The greats in this game get booed for a reason, right? If they do not perform, fans will get mad. Guess what? Sorry, I'm shouting you out clearly. If you're not doing good, guess what? Nobody really cares because you're not one of the big names. Is he a big name prospect? Yeah, sort of for this New York Met team, right? But with his tenure, with his short little stint up here in the major leagues, he was playing like crap. I remember I was working at the Fan one night. He was playing in Miami. He made one really nice defensive play after going, I think, 0 for 14 in his first 14 at-bats, something along those lines. But you're not Francisco Lindor. And with that being said, he was the catalyst. He was the leader of the thumbs down movement. That's not what a leader does. Now, Baez was the poster boy for this. He was. And I was working the other night here at the Fan, and I walked into the studio, and my boy, shout out to Pat Boyle, was producing that night. and I said to him, look at what's going on. This cannot be real. That the thumbs down thing correlates to we're going to be booing our fans because we don't like getting booed at. Then first of all, number one, play better. Obvious. Javy, dude, you've played not even 20 games here. You have over 20 strikeouts. You are around the Mendoza line as a New York Met. Change, dude. Look, if you were batting 350 as a New York Met with 8 home runs in 20 or so games, you know what? I still be mad at you, but I'll be like, all right. Things would be different because probably they would be winning games. He's playing better overall. I'm sure the team would be playing overall better as a team. So then maybe the thumb down thing would be kind of cute. Thumbs down this, thumbs down that. It's a cute thing. Not now. There's a horrible take, a horrible decision on their part to do this. And for Javy Baez, I'll get into Lindor again. I know I was, going off on him for the last 8 minutes into this new hour here. But for Javy Baez, there's a lot of riding on this second half. And honestly, a lot of things are riding on this last month for him individually. This Mets team's not going anywhere. They're not making the postseason. I know they're, 5.5 games back from the Braves, 3 games back from the Phillies, 5.5 out of the wild card. It's not going to happen. There's a lot of good teams in the National League. You have 3 teams in the National League West that can go, all of them can go to the playoffs. One of those 3 teams, the Dodgers, Padres, or Giants, one of them is winning the division, and I think both of them are going to go to the playoffs as a wild card team. Cincinnati Reds are making a nice push, and also the Phillies are trying to make a push into the postseason as a wild card, even a division winner here. The Mets aren't going to go anywhere. So for Javy Baez going forward, he needs to absolutely dominate at the plate. Defense, he's an above average defender. Coming up when he was a Cub, he was this. I remember his first at-bat, his first game in Colorado. He had an opposite field home run. He crazy batting stance, whipped the bat around. And this was a guy that was going to be the future for the Cubs. And he was. He had a great Cubs career. Towards the end of his Cubs career, was he striking out a ton? Without a doubt. So what came with strikeouts then came home runs. But what came with strikeouts also came to a low batting average. But overall, what needs to change for him going forward, he needs to play better well. For him individually, he's in a free agent next year. Do you think Met fans want you back, dude? Now, I know you scored the game-winning run the other day. I know. But long term, you are not coming back to New York. It's just not going to happen. I don't see it happening. How are you going to come back to New York after being one of the faces of this thumbs down movement that lasted 24 hours before Sandy Alderson had to do a press release, which how embarrassing that is. It's like your dad yelling at you. And then imagine if Baez, Lindor are these kids that they get sent to the dean's office because they're not being good kids in class. And then Sandy Alderson is the father and needs to come down to the school and hear what the dean and the president have to say. And guess what? It's just Alderson's the parent. These players are children, and they're acting like kids. And Baez, with a walk here, he wants to make a boatload of money. There's a lot of nice shortstops that are free agents. Lindor signed already. You have Corey Seager out of L.A., Carlos Correa, who's already talking right now about extensions and staying with Houston. You have Trevor Story. And then you have Javy Baez. Going into the season, even before the Lindor trade, it was pretty evident that Baez would be the guy on the last guy on the totem pole. I like Trevor Story more when it comes to the better shortstop overall. Baez just strikes out way too much, and with these antics going on, he's first of all not coming back to the Mets, and also you're just losing yourself out of money overall because at the end of the day, yes, he can play pretty well offensively. He'll hit you 30 home runs. He'll strike out 200 times. But will teams deal with the BS? Will teams deal with these stupid antics? Will they do that? It's a risk you're willing to take. For instance, the Bauer situation is totally flipped upside down, right? And You know, it has because he's an absolute scumbag. He's not a good person. But the overall player side, when he was a free agent, Bauer had a lot of baggage in the sense of a personality that was untamed, who had a lot of opinions that he wanted to voice when he was upset about something. And the Dodgers took that side, of course, the great player in Bauer, but they took the side of he's a vlogger. He's on Twitter all the time. He's causing a ruckus with Rob Manfred. He doesn't like Rob Manfred. I mean, I don't know who likes Rob Manfred, but I agree with that. But this is like almost like a situation with Baez where he needs to really just tighten up here, shut up, play better, and try winning this fan base back because it's not going to happen. And, you know, people are saying, you know, did they mean to do it? People are saying no. Was this all a learning experience? Getting, you know, sunned by all the fan base and Sandy Alderson telling everybody we're going to talk to him in private? I guess it's more of like a humbling moment for this New York Met team. It's a humbling moment in the sense that it's been a really bad year overall. With everything going on in the front office this last 24 hours with Zack Scott, players aren't playing at their level. Shout out Michael Conforto, Dom Smith, McNeil. Guys aren't staying healthy. Shout out Jacob deGrom. Nimmo's been hurt. Noah Syndergaard, non-existent. He's getting mad about teams, the Mets playing on Sunday Night Baseball on the West Coast, but you can't get healthy. Like, there's a lot of distractions. This whole season's like a giant learning experience for Steve Cohen and the entire team. That's what it is. And then you have Lindor addressed it a little bit by saying, I apologize. I didn't mean to offend anybody, but this. And Baez was the same thing. Explanation was kind of cringy and also hilarious at the same time. We didn't see Lindor until we saw him at the U.S. Open signing a Yankee hat. And then you had the fan who was filming it. We don't care about the thumbs down. Just hit 320. Well, guy, 320 is kind of hard. But Baez can do that. And fans are pissed about Baez. Not Baez, excuse me. I said Lindor. Lindor can do that. When people are pissed about Lindor because of his offense, you can't disagree with that. You know, Lindor said that you can't rag on my defense, you can't rag on my base running, but you can, you know, my offense, my hitting is not there. And, like, no kidding. You haven't been there all season long, and then you've been hurt. And there's a situation back in the early days of 2005, 2006, and I had to do my research the past couple of days. Carlos Beltran is his new Met. 2005, he struggled in 2005. 2006, he went on to have a good year, 41 home runs, 116 RBIs, but he did struggle at moments during that year and moments where it was bad. It was long stretches of not playing good baseball. And that season for 2006, Met fans know, was an unbelievable season for this Met team. And of course, Beltran was the one who ended the season striking out looking against Adam Wainwright. But there was a point in that season where Beltran didn't get a curtain call. He didn't want to he got the curtain call. People wanted to come outside. He said, nope, I'm not coming on. And the fans hated him for that. And for good reason. And then he kind of won him back. But this is kind of like a different situation where the thumbs down thing really blew up more on social media and more fans across the country figured it out. What I'm saying is Beltran was probably the most sensitive player in New York Mets history. And it was probably the best trade, the best acquisition in New York Mets history in a way. But Lindor needs to take a page out of that book and say, look, even Carlos Beltran, a guy who's this unbelievable player in his Mets tenure, but you got to just learn from former Mets players' mistakes. That's what it is. We got a caller, Sparky from Dobbs Ferry, wants to talk about Lindor and Baez learning and being better players. Sparky, what's up?
Oh, not much. Taylor, welcome aboard, first of all.
Thank you.
Now, very important with those two, they could learn a lesson about fans booing from Tino Martinez. because when I mentioned the name Tina Martinez, you look right now, he's one of the most popular Yankee players you'll see. But when the Yanks first got him from the Mariners, he was being booed very, very heavily. And it was for two reasons. One, he was the player that replaced Don Mattingly. And two, he also was just playing lousy. Okay? And he changed the booing very simply by producing. Because what happened, they were playing an extra inning game in Baltimore, and he hit a grand slam, and all of a sudden hitting. And it changed the fans' attitude totally.
Producing, Sparky. That's what it is.
Yep.
You got to produce.
Yes. I mean, because you would never thought Tino Martino was getting booed, but he wasn't playing well. And replacing Mattingly didn't help either.
No, definitely not. But Sparky, that's like, you got to think about it this way. It's not just baseball, but in every sport, and honestly in life, if you don't produce at your job, if you're an accountant and you're not doing a good job, guess what? Your boss is going to come to you and not be happy with you. Just like what's going on with the Mets here, Lindor and Baez are not playing well, and the fans are going to rag on them. And guess what?
Absolutely.
You just need to produce.
That's it. Now, as far as the Yankee situation, and as good as things are going, it still comes down. We really don't have a closer you could have any confidence in. Because, I mean, let's face it, look at the recent playoff years. Chapman has really hurt them all the time in a big spot.
Yes. And it's very embarrassing because as a Yankee fan and Yankee fans in general have been spoiled for 20-plus years with Mariano Rivera.
Oh, my God.
You know?
No, we've been lucky. I mean, it's flat out lucky. I mean, to have that guy, I mean, it's
the opposing team knew going in that they were going to lose. They knew one pitch was coming, and they knew they were going to lose. Chapman's got really a couple of good pitches, but you can see tonight there was something different with Chapman. There's something different with Chapman. He was more relaxed. He wasn't aiming his fastball. When he was aiming his fastball, you can notice the velocity's down to 96, 97, where he's usually hitting 99 to 101. So there needs to be definitely a change, Sparky. And Sparky, I appreciate you calling. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're talking more New York Mets, more Yankees. I want you guys calling in 877-337-6666. This is Ringold on the Fan. We'll be right back. That's a perfect drop there. We're back on the Fan. Ringold back on the Fan. 877-337-6666. Shout out Travis Scott. I'm a big Drake fan. Nick, I don't know about you. That album's coming out. It's going out tomorrow.
Come out tomorrow? I know he just dropped a bunch of featers on it. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not see that. Maybe you have to tell me after the break.
Oh, boy.
Oh, is it good?
Big fan.
Is it? I know. I'm a big fan. Don't know what's going on. I've only been kind of studying here,
Yeah,
hosting
there's
the
some
show.
big features on it. I know, I think Jay-Z,
All right.
I believe, is on it.
Wow, okay.
Who else is on it? I think, I got to double check.
Hey, look, I'm excited for that because what's his name? Kanye dropped his, which is kind of like, I didn't really like it too much. But let's get back on track here. 877-337-6666 is the number. We talked a lot of Yankees, a lot of Mets. I'm going to continue talking about the Mets. And remember, at the top of the hour after Husler's update, we're talking a little New York Giants football with second-round pick Azeez Ojulari, who's joining the show, talking to this rookie, talking about the preseason, what he's looking forward to. It's going to be fun. But I do want to talk more about this situation with the booing of the fans. Like I mentioned the last segment here, did not go over well with Met fans. That they were putting the thumbs down, they didn't like the booing, so we're going to go give it right back. As an athlete, you got to eat it. You just got to eat it. And the best of the best have, and they've succeeded. It's just how it goes. But I was talking off the air with Nick over here, my fantastic producer, about how should fans really interact with the players? And is it something that will change? Because we've seen fans spit on players on courtside of NBA games. We've seen, let's just talk Malice at the Palace. I haven't seen the documentary yet on ESPN's 30 for 30, but everyone remembers when Ron Artest and Steven Jackson going into the stands and fighting. Look, if I had it my way, I think every player should fight a fan once a year and just see how it feels. But look, that's just in a different reality here. But it's just not going to happen. But it's like, how should players and fans deal with each other? Because social media it's a gift and a curse, right? My favorite follow is on social media, particularly on Twitter, is Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman has done just about everything right for this New York Met team this year. Has he been dealing with and kind of be involving himself with the media? You're absolutely right. And in a way where it shouldn't be like that. You know, I had an interaction with Stroman on Twitter about when Tim Healy talked about how he does this, and this, lose the game, and then he goes and retweets and tweets about his unbelievable play. And there was a lot of backlash to Tim Healy, but then there was also a lot of backlash to Stroman being on social media immediately after the game and tweeting about his Gold Glove play he made. And the fans ragged on him for that, and there were some fans that stood by his side. I was one of those fans that did. I'm not a Met fan. I'm a Marcus Stroman guy. Stroman's a Long Island kid, played Long Island baseball at Patchogue Medford, which is a rival high school to mine at War Melville High School. Shout out the Patriots there. But it's how fans have these Twitter fingers, and they kind of go off and say what they want. It happens in person and on Twitter, and it's how should these fans interact the right way? And there's never going to be a happy medium, right? And the fans, and the players get a little ticked off too, as we've been seeing. You have Trevor May and Pilar and Taijuan Walker and Stroman all tweeting emojis and saying, you guys should just relax. It's not a big deal. But let's be honest, it is a big deal. Players don't like it. And imagine that they didn't do that and they were kind of playing the same way they are. You know, maybe there could be some still bad interactions on Twitter, but there needs to be some sort of happy medium where fans, there maybe needs a restriction or something on social media, but in person, it's just there's something that you can't stop. And Nick was saying, should there be some sort of restriction? And I kind of challenged him on that because I don't know the answer, to be honest with you. I tried challenging him on it. I don't really know the answer to it because there really isn't going to be any sort of change. The only real change is the Mets need to play better. That's really what it is. The Mets just need to play better. There needs to be a lot of change in the front office and a lot of change going on with this overall New York Met offense. And look at the Yankees. Look, people are booing Gerrit Coles still when he was having an off night. Aaron Judge has been booed for years when he's batting, under 240, or under 260, and he's not producing. Stanton's been booed ever since he's gotten here because we haven't seen the Stanton where he's hitting 53 or 54 home runs when he was at his MVP year. It's all about producing. Sparky said it before. It's all like with the Tino Martinez comparison here. You just need to produce, and fans are going to start loving you. And that's what it is. Look, and the Mets have guys that can be fan favorites here, and Lindor can be that fan favorite. He's going to be liked again. It's obvious. I hear people calling on him on this show. I hate Lindor. I don't want to see him anymore. Can Steve Cohen buy out his contract, and could he just be thrown on the street? Well, Met fans, get used to it. He's going to be here for another 10 years. Just get used to it. And you're going to love him again. I don't think you're going to love Javy Baez. He's been here for a cup of coffee, and he's on his walk here. It's a guy you're not going to, I don't blame him. I don't even like him because, I know he wasn't the one who started it, but he was the one that his face is all over the newspaper, on Twitter. I'm smiling, and I said, look, hey, I got content to talk about. I'm excited. I got a lot of stuff to talk about, but it's also negative stuff. And then you got to add Zack Scott in there too. But there just needs to be a change. You can't have Kevin Pillar and Trevor May, two guys who have been pretty inconsistent this year. Pillar's had his moments, and so has May. But May, in his first year as as a Met, hasn't been that great. And there needs to be changes all over the place for this team. And I remember, I've quick little tidbit here. I interned and I worked for the Minnesota Twins in 2018, and Trevor May was a guy who was decently well, and he kind of didn't know where his spot was on the Twins team, and then he kind of found his spot in the bullpen, and then the following year he was absolutely amazing for the 2019 season. But there just needs to be a change all the way around. And we got Don from Brooklyn saying the next GM for the Mets. Don, you're on the fan. What's up?
All right, so here's a name that no one has brought up. The guy who was fired by Houston, along with Hinch, took the blame for the 2017 events, Jeff Luhnow. He did bring together a World Series team, and Hinch has resurfaced, Cora has resurfaced. I don't think Beltran will resurface. The players all found themselves scot-free. And the GM was probably as far away as anyone from this event. I think he would be a good replacement for...
Yeah, Don, I understand what you're saying. And Jeff Luhnow had a pretty good career rebuilding a horrible Houston Astros team, but he did cheat. And he was part of this Houston Astros cheating scandal.
Then how did Hinch get a job?
I think it's a little different. You know, sometimes you get blacklisted in the executive part of baseball. Jeff Luhnow has a pretty good track record. You know, smart guy, University of Penn. You know, the guy's got a nice track record of being a good GM. But also, he's suspended for a little while now. I think his suspension might have been up by now.
No, it was 1 year.
It was 1 year. Okay, so 1 year. So maybe this is a perfect opportunity for Jeff Luhnow or whoever else to come in.
He's also a minority. He's a minority.
Jeff Luhnow is a guy that has experience. That's
right, and he's a minority. He built a team. He assembled the team, so he's got some talent evaluating properties. Obviously, he can bring a team around him, and the cheating was in the dugout, and Hinch was standing in the dugout, and Hinch has got a job.
Yeah, but at the same time, Jeff knew about it too. So same thing with AJ, and the thing with AJ Hinch, there was a job opened up, and there really hasn't been a lot of jobs opening up in the GM spot for GMs in Major League Baseball. But at the end of every season, a lot of guys go. A lot of GMs get fired. A lot of managers get fired, and players get cut or released, or they don't get re-signed. So there's going to be jobs opening up. But Don, are you a Met fan, Don?
Yeah. I have and I would, obviously, I would like to see. I was in favor of Baez coming because we needed a shortstop, not because he was going to be a long-term solution. And Lindor was hurt, and we needed a shortstop. And the fact that the two of them got together and acted like kids in a man's game and really made it not pleasant for the fan.
I like the fact that Lindor, Baez are good friends, and you can bring that camaraderie around, and that friendship around could bring some sort of personality and not really leadership, because we haven't seen leadership, but more personality and a fun atmosphere into a dugout, into a clubhouse.
I agree, but they were not. I guess they were allowed to, but they should not have taken that step, nor, since it occurred days before it occurred on the field, the manager just has to be aware of it. Yeah,
and that's flat out. And would you want Jeff Luhnow or would you want Theo Epstein? That's my last thing I'll ask, and I'll let you go. But who would you want if available?
if available, I would obviously want Epstein, but he might want more than would be normal and customary for the position. But I think that Luhnow would be just as adequate, and again would bring a minority, a Spanish speaker into that clubhouse and into that as a high level of official executive in that team, and might set a bar for the players.
Don, I think Luhnow is a nice option. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, having a minority as a GM, definitely a good look and definitely good for the game. But Luhnow has the experience of rebuilding a very, very bad team. Not just like a Met team that's pretty poor, under 500, has good days and bad days. They took chances on certain players. Luhnow took chances on certain players and drafted the right guys. Carlos Correa and Bregman, giving Altuve a shot. Do you know the Altuve story? The Altuve story is so interesting. Dick, do you know this Altuve story of how he was been denied over and over again?
No, which one are you talking about?
So Altuve, when he was like trying to make it into baseball and going to camp and tryouts and stuff like that, he was denied so many times, but he kept showing up every single day. Every single day he kept showing up and showing up and showing up. And then they were like, all right, we'll give you an opportunity. And now he's become one of the better hitters of all time in Houston Astros history.
They didn't kick him out because he was banging too many trash cans?
No. And they should have.
Yeah.
They should have. Absolutely, they should have. 877-337-6666. We have a couple more minutes until we take another break here. We're talking Yankees and Mets. A lot of Mets out on this show. As a Yankee fan, I thought I'd be talking more Yankees, but I've been talking a ton about the Mets because, honestly, it's a little more interesting to talk about some negative stuff and how bad this team's been and inconsistent this team's been. One team that they should be is like a San Francisco Giant type of team. The San Francisco Giants are a team that is so much fun to watch because they have the names, like it's like Buster Posey's a giant name, right? They added Chris Bryant, but they don't have the big boppers. They don't have a Stanton or a Judge, a name that's going to be really like threatening in a lineup. Like Darren Ruff is not threatening, but he's produced. Steve Duggar, not threatening name. No one even knows who that is. He's an outfielder for the Giants, but they do everything right. And that's what this Mets team hasn't done. Hit runners in scoring position, getting guys over, pitching in critical outs, getting critical guys out, pitching well, having kind of no-name guys in their bullpen really push forward. Lamont Wade, who was DFA'd, or I think he was traded to the Giants from Minnesota, has turned into an unbelievable hitter for the San Francisco Giants. And the Mets, it seems like when they add people, nothing pans out. It's just kind of the Met curse, which is unfortunate. But 877-337-6666 is the number. When we come back, we'll talk more Yankees and more Mets for another 20 minutes. And then we got an interview with giant rookie, Azeez Ojulari, when we come back. Ringold back on the Fan, bringing the tunes and also bringing you a ton of sports knowledge throughout the show. It's 3:42 here in New York City. However, listening is at home safe. I do appreciate the callers calling in. If you're not in the car, which you shouldn't be in the car right now, because what was it, Nick? It was how many inches of rain in New York City?
The news just said about a little over 7 inches.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
It's more than 6.
Yes, very true. See, Nick's bringing the funniest aspect. I love that. This is why Nick's a good producer, man. He gives you knowledge about, he just told me the list on Drake's album, which we're not going to even get into because it doesn't really matter. But he was also funny, too. But 877-337-6666. We talk Jets and Giants at 4 o'clock. And then at 5, I'll be talking more baseball up until 6 o'clock when Jerry and Sal take over, if they get here with how the weather goes, which I think they will. We're crossing fingers here. We want our guys working. We want everyone here. 877-337-6666. Ringold on the Fan. We've been talking a lot about this New York Met team, and this is a baseball town, so we're going to talk a lot about baseball. But the New York Mets are just a dumpster fire of an organization, and just a dumpster fire of a team this year. And with the last caller here, I think it was Don, he mentioned Jeff Lunau as a possible GM spot here. I kind of like it. It's a nice, viable option. Has he kind of been blacklisted a little bit? I'd say yes. He's definitely been blacklisted because of the cheating scandal, but he's got a great track record of fixing a team, just like Theo Epstein does. But can the New York Mets, through the rest of the season, can they really kind of end the season on a good note? That's what Met fans are wondering. With all the drama going on, can the Met fans actually rally around this team and kind of say, all right, are we going to bend the knee and just say, look, we know what they did was wrong, but we still like you guys. So we're to come back and root for you. The Yankees is different. The Yankees are a team where they are in the hunt. They are right there, ready to take over. I'm trying to look at my notes here. My notes are all scattered all over the place. Thank God I got things labeled here. I got a million papers here, but they're 7 games back from Tampa Bay Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays are a unbelievable team with a team that doesn't have a lot of money. They got a guy, Nelson Cruz, from a trade. He's a DH, can't play the outfield a little bit, but they're throwing him at first base to kind of add more of an option to the lineup for someone who really can't play the field. But you got that, and then the 2-game lead over the Red Sox right now in the wild card. That's going to be an interesting next month or so. I don't know how many games the Red Sox Yankees play at the end of the season, but that's something I'm probably going to look up in a few minutes here. But down the stretch, this Yankee team needs to produce in every facet. And when it comes to beating big teams and being competitive throughout the months of September, it's going to be big, man. And there's a nice track record, though, with this Yankee team that over the month of September, they are competitive and they can win games. That's what it is. What is that?
Yankees play the Red Sox 3 more times, all in Boston.
That's big. When is that exactly? Is it like middle of September or end of September?
It is September 24th to the 26th.
Yeah. And then the last series of the year is, I think it's in the Bronx against Tampa. Am I correct? The last 3 games.
And they play the Blue Jays before that as well.
I'm going to say it now, man. I've always liked this Blue Jay team. They're not that far out of it right now. I got to just take the standings here. Yeah, they're 70-62. They are way out of it to win the division, but the wild card sake here, they're only 4.5 out. This is a team with an offense which is starting to pick up right now, and with a guy like Robbie Ray leading the charge in that rotation with Hyun-Jin Ryu, who's pitching really well. Unfortunately, they released Brad Hand, who's been horrific for this Blue Jay team in the bullpen. I think the Blue Jays could actually push a little bit. But this wild card hunt is so tight, and as Yankee fans are listening in, they need to understand that it could be one stretch, 1 week. It could be another week like this, where they are on a long road trip and they lose a couple games in a row here, win a game, lose 3 in a row, win a couple of 2 games. You can't have that if you're the Yankees. You just can't. You can't do that because the Red Sox are sniffing right behind you. Oakland is a good team. They have been struggling. They struggled against the Yankees. Seattle has become America's team all of a sudden. They have, honestly, the whole trade with Abraham Toro and trading away to get him, and then the Houston Astros just gained another arm in Kendall Graveman was the dumbest trade probably the last decade or so. But the Mariners are still competing at 72-62. Or 72-62. I'm reading it wrong here. But yeah, there's a lot of teams that are still in the hunt. And the Yankees need to look behind them, turn around and see like, hey, look, they're close. We have to be basically perfect. And they were great in the month of August. They were great. You can't Like, you can't get better than going 21-8. Would it be nice to do that again? Yeah, it's just not going to happen. Nick's nodding his head as a Yankee fan. Like, yeah, it's just not going to happen. But adding Rizzo was a great move by this Yankee team, not only because of his bat. He's a great offensive bat. He's clutch. He's a veteran presence when it comes in the conversation, when it comes to talking about postseason runs, when it comes to that, that's important. Won a ring. He knows how to win in the playoffs. He's also been on teams losing in the playoffs, so he knows what it takes to get there, and he's tasted playoff opportunities. And he's probably having conversations with some of the younger guys on this team. And look, Aaron Judge has had playoff moments, but nobody on this team has been to the World Series besides, I think it was Rizzo and Chapman, and Garrett, right? And Gardner as well. Gardner did win that ring. I can't believe he's even still around. He's just aging as the days go here. But having a veteran presence like him in the lineup, and not only that, defense is there too. And I understand why Voit was mad and pissed. It's like, I deserve to play first base. Dude, you were hurt almost all year. But having him change into the full DH and having Stanton out in the outfield is exactly what the Yankees should have done during his tenure. I understand Stanton's got a little injury history here and there, but you have to realize he's an athlete. Now, for Aaron Judge, too, Aaron Judge and Stanton, these big macho guys, realistically, you can't work out like you're a linebacker. They all look like linebackers. Gallo and Rizzo and Judge and Stanton and Voit, they all look like middle linebackers here. But you have to realize that you can't put your body like that over and over and over and over again, just destroying your body by working out too much. And your body's not, baseball players are not made for having gigantic bodies. And I think you've seen the last couple of years, in size-wise, Stanton shrunk a little bit more, and Judge has a little bit of the same, but they're being a little more athletic out there. And Stanton's arm, let alone just his defense alone, his arm is absolutely amazing. That's what the Yankees need. And Aaron Judge is turning into an MVP candidate, but he's not going to win the MVP. It's obvious Ohtani's going to get it. But Judge, we're seeing Judge for the first time since his mammoth year. I think it was his rookie year, finishing in second place to Altuve. Not Altuve, I'm sorry, second place in the MVP conversation to Altuve that year. But you're seeing confidence at Judge at the plate, and something that I take into account when I watch either the Yankees, Mets, or just baseball in general. Two-strike approach is something that not a lot of players take into account. You look at some guys like Paul Goldschmidt, Rizzo's a guy, Joey Votto, and now you're seeing a little bit of Aaron Judge. You see a lot of it in Joey Gallo, the choking up of the bat, widening the stance a little bit. Their stride isn't the same as it is in an 0-0, 0-1, 1-1, 1-2 count, whatever it is. 2-1 count. So you're seeing it a little differently. Having a two-strike approach shows that you're trying to change as a hitter. You're trying to show everybody, hey, look, I'm not just a home run hitter. I want to have the average high. I want to get on base for my teammates behind me to hit me in. Now, Gallo, who I haven't mentioned much in this show, Gallo has been an issue. He's had that one Yankee pinstripe moment, that home run in the Bronx. It was a bomb to right field, which is perfect for him, being a power-pulling left-handed hitter, which the Yankees needed. And Cashman listened to the fans and saw what the problem was and got those two guys, Rizzo and Gallo. But Gallo, you brought over a couple things. You brought over a power bat, obvious. He has 30 home runs on the year. But you're bringing over strikeouts, which is already a big problem with this team already. But you're also bringing over defense. Gallo's a Gold Glove outfielder. He could play first if need be, and he can play third base if need be for emergency purposes. But he's an outfielder. For my wild card game against, I'm assuming it'd be the Red Sox, that's my outfield. Judge in right, Stanton left, and Gallo in center. It just makes sense. But will Gallo actually have the ability to hit a slider off Chris Sale, which is how it's kind of looking out to be? The Red Sox are looking like they are to be in it with all that's going on now with the COVID stuff and majority of their team getting COVID, which is really funny. They're in the higher percentile 85% and higher of vaccinated players. This is just like the Yankees. Remember when the Yankees had their woes with guys going on the COVID list? And they just fought through it. And this is just a bad time for the Red Sox to have that happen in the month of September when it's time to win ball games. But I think the Red Sox are gonna come back, and I think they're gonna be playing the Yankees in the wild card game. That's how my strategy's going. And then the Yankees will win, and then the Yankees will get demolished by one of those three teams. But the Red Sox are going to be a tough game, though. Gerrit Cole, Chris Sale. That's your wild card game. I like that. Nick's nodding his head too. He likes it too. But will these Yankee hitters be able to face Chris Sale? I host another show off of this, and I was talking about how Chris Sale could be this viable option for the Red Sox going forward. But what would he be? My prediction was that they would ease into his, which they are, into him becoming the starting rotation kind of guy, being in that starting rotation in the playoffs or down the stretch in September. I thought he'd be right off the rip kind of a closer role or late inning guy. Have him be that guy. You pitch 1 or 2 innings here and there. Chris Sale's getting his groove back, his unhittable slider, his 97-mile-an-hour cheese up in your neck. That's what Yankee fans, Yankee hitters don't want to see. And luckily, this Yankee lineup is right-handed dominant, so there's one advantage. But Rizzo and Gallagher are going to have a tough time against Chris Sale. But that's going to be the question, is if Chris Sale's going to be ready to go for this Red Sox team, if there needs to be a wild card game. And guess what? If there's a wild card game, Gerrit Cole's in the mound, they're going to be throwing Chris Sale, and he's going to go at least 7 innings. It's just how it's going to go. And I'm going to be sweating. If I'm working here at night, working on the game for the postseason, or I am at home, or I'm at the bar with friends watching the game, I'm going to be sweating the whole time. 877-337-6666 is the number. It's 8:55 a.m. I'm here with you for another 2 hours. We're not going to go to break yet. Just throwing it out there. Talking a lot of Yankees, a lot of Mets. We're talking Giants after the break, after Hughes through with the update. We'll talk some Jets. Might as well just talk some Jets right now. A little Jets. Nick, are you a Jet fan or Giant fan? Or either?
I don't watch a lot of football, but if I do, it's probably Giants over Jets.
I'm a Giant fan myself. I love the Giants. We'll talk a lot about the Giants after this, but I do want to talk a little of the Jets here and how Zach Wilson was compared to a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Did you see this today? It was yesterday. Tony Romo was asked about Zach Wilson and being this player that's going to be above and beyond dynamic. But let's be honest, it's just not going to happen. Not going to be like Patrick freaking Mahomes. Just not going to happen. He said, I think Zach Wilson, I think Zach Wilson is going to be in the discussion as one of the top 3 to 5 quarterbacks in the league very quickly. Within the next couple of years, I think you're going to see him rise. And I think it's going to be unbelievable. He's a high ceiling, Romo went on to say. And he said, this is where he's the Mahomes thing. It's rare for me to say someone has the ability to get to the stratosphere of Patrick Mahomes, but I think this kid actually has the ability. So when you have a quarterback like that, I think of, I'm not even going to read the rest of this thing. When I see that and when I hear that, it's cringy. He hasn't thrown a pass in the regular season. Did he have a good preseason? Yeah, he had a decent preseason. 5 of 20, 2 touchdowns, 191 yards passing. Not a lot to show, but Jets fans are excited for a guy like Zach Wilson. I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to say it later. We're not talking about Daniel Jones. Quarterback's got 3 years, right? You have 3 years to know the playbook. You have 3 years to know the playbook, read a defense, and how to play as a quarterback in the National Football League. We saw what Sam Darnold had to go through. Yikes. Just not good. It was just when you go with the mono and playing, really just not playing good brand of football. It was just really an unfortunate situation for New York Jet fans watching Sam Darnold. But now they think they have their guy in Zach Wilson. I think they do. I think the Jets did an unbelievable draft, getting Wilson, getting Elijah Vera Tucker from USC, and also getting Elijah Moore from Ole Miss. I think Elijah Moore is going to be unbelievable pick here for this Jet team going forward. We're at 3:58 a.m. right now. 877-337-6666. We got Ed. Ed, you got a couple more minutes. Give me what you got. You talk about Yankees, Boone, and Cashman. What's up?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm a barber, man. I'm a hairdresser. I talk to people every day. And these guys come in and, all right, the Yankees had a 4-game losing streak. They had the 13-game winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
And now they come in this week and talk about we got to get rid of Boone. We got to get rid of Cashman. We got to start fresh.
No way.
And what gets me is no way. Absolutely, I don't. First of all, to want to get rid of a manager without being part of the team and not knowing what goes on behind the scenes, you can't do it. I mean, all we know is that 100 wins his first year, 103 the second.
Mm-hmm.
I don't count last year; it was a disaster, but they were still competitive. Yeah, they haven't won a World Series.
Yeah, Ed.
You know
Ed, honestly, thank you for calling.
Yeah.
But Ed, man, it's something that Yankee fans consistently do. They just overreact. They get all upset when something happens like this. And look, in the past, I've done the same thing. Yeah, it's unfortunate that the Yankee fans are noticing that another streak of losing, and it's just not competitive baseball. But guess what? Get over it. It's going to be. You're going to have another couple losing streaks during the month of September. It's just going to happen. It's just going to happen. 877-337-6666. I got a guest coming on. Second-round pick from the New York Giants, linebacker Azeez Ojulari joins the show after Husler. Come on back. We'll see you then. We're back on The Fan, and joining me now is rookie linebacker out of Georgia, Azeez Ojulari. Azeez, man, thank you for coming on. First thing I'm going to say, man, training camp, you're almost done with your first training camp of your career. Take me through the process. I'm sure you've been a little nervous and also excited, so take me through that.
Yeah, coming in, I was very excited, to come into my first training camp with the guys and just know I got to come in and compete and work hard every day. And I just know that I'm continuing to get better every single day. And I'm just, it was a great opportunity for me. Come in and just see how it is and go hard with the vets out here, and everyone here is just great. It's just great to be out here, It was good. It was great.
So you work with a bunch of veteran linebackers, including a guy who I love watching, named Blake Martinez and others. But what have you learned the most from your counterparts, your coworkers, I guess you want to say, your big teammates on the linebacking side?
Yeah, just taking the game to the next level. Little details is more important. Like, it's just like they pay attention to every single detail. They know so much more than I do, and I'm just trying to lean on them every single day and take bites of information off of them every single day. And every chance I get, ask them questions and just to feed off them. Just just stay close to them as I can. Just continue to grow. It's been going good so far. So I'm excited.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for rookies is to take it all in, right? You have to take it all in early on. And you also don't want to push anybody's buttons. So has there been something in particular that these guys have taught you early on in your first training camp?
Particularly, I'll say just watching more film, just being in tune to what I'm doing and correcting myself, critiquing myself for coming back the next day and working something better, or just trying to correct what I'm working on and just try to focus on one thing at a time. And just get better each day, So that really helped me on my film watching and just getting better as a player, looking at the details.
This is the 4th straight year that a Georgia player has been drafted to the New York Giants. What does that mean for the brotherhood coming in, Georgia Bulldogs coming into New York and bringing that kind of style of football over to the New York Giants? What does that mean to you?
Man, it's nice, just having my teammates that I play with, main guy I'm with, Renzo Carter, my position group, Tay and the inside backer, Signal Carter. So, and, Andrew, my main guy, brother for sure, all the guys, my brothers. So, it was just like we've been close forever. So throughout college and everything. So it's just nice to have them here with me joining them here. So it's pretty nice to have a brother that I know and just that I've been close with. So it's been going smooth with them.
We have Azeez Ojulari on The Fan. Azeez, when you are getting drafted and going through the process, I of course it's stressful and of course it's exciting, but when you got drafted by the New York Giants, tell me the emotions, and also was there like a pit in your stomach? You're like, oh wow, I'm actually an NFL player right now.
Yeah, man, it was crazy when I got drafted. It was just I couldn't believe it. It was just like dream come true. At the moment, I was like, wow, man, the call, it was just crazy. I was super excited, like jumping through like the roofs, excited, man. It was, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I'm just blessed to be here, and blessed for the opportunity. And it was great. I'm very grateful, and I'm happy. Yeah.
Because a guy like yourself, you from Georgia, you play for the team. I'm assuming you were dying to play as a kid in Georgia, and now you're coming to New York. It's got to be some sort of almost like you're dreaming almost situation, because there's millions of kids like yourself that want to be in a situation like this, and you're surrounded by a guy like Joe Judge, who is a hard-nosed head coach. When you met Joe Judge for the very first time, what was that conversation like?
Man, I mean, it was great. You just know he's straightforward, what he likes and what he wants. And, you just met him. It was great just to meet the head coach, the man that runs the show. And, it's just great he's a great coach. So, I'm just following what he wants. Whatever the plan is, just stick to it and do what he said, and follow his lead.
With the defensive coordinator on the side, Patrick Graham, I would love to know maybe an inside look on how those meetings go on. I was an intern in 2016 at the Giants, so I got to walk around, not in the training rooms, but I got to see guys running into training rooms. If they were late with their lunches, they're sprinting over. What's the training in the film rooms like with Patrick Graham going on so far in training camp?
Yeah, it's been great. Coach is smart. He knows a lot ball. So, man, he just teaches everything. He gets the details, and he coaches you up the right way. And I love the way he coaches. And he's a great coach, So he gets into the details and everything you need to know, right, wrong. He's tell you straight up how it's supposed to be, how he won it, how it's supposed to be. And, so it's just great because he won championships. So he's like, he knows the way. So why not follow his steps? So.
And I feel like there needs to be coaches like that, like Judge and Graham, that can get on you if you're doing it wrong. And I know all coaches do that. But I feel like maybe for a player like yourself, and just as a fan looking in, I want my head coach getting on my players' asses. I want them to get in and say, if you're doing it wrong, you better fix it. And I'm sure that's got to be motivating for you as a rookie. You're also trying to impress your entire team and trying to be that number one guy.
Right.
Definitely. Yeah. One thing I did notice is that doing my research and watching some videos of the interviews you were in, a lot of people have been saying they remind you of O.C. Umeara, who's I know is a defensive end.
Yeah.
But the sort of play that you guys kind of are like the same. What does that mean to you when you're in the same conversations as one of the all-time favorite New York Giant defensive players?
Yeah, it's an honor, man. It's an honor, man. A legend like O.C., man. I remember when I got drafted, O.C. he was rooting for me. He wanted me to come to New York, and he texted me on Twitter. He was like, congratulations, man. We have some similarities. He had texted me. I was like, man, he's happy that I landed in New York, and he can't wait to see me work and play. So just to have an honor like that, and OC just makes me just want to go hard every single day. Like can't let him no one down. Just got to come in and do whatever I can in my best of my ability. So a legend like that, man, it's just a blessing for sure.
I mean, dude, that's got to be so exciting. You just got drafted in 2 seconds. You have this unbelievable player text you. That must make you feel so special, right?
Yeah, for sure.
With week 1 coming in about 10 days or so, Denver Broncos, a guy like Von Miller on the defensive side, do you eventually want to be something like that kind of player? I know you kind of admire his play, but why do you admire his play so much?
I mean, Von, he's done so many great things. He's a beast. We already know. So, what he could do. He could wreck a game and how he play. And he's a game wrecker. So, he always got to watch out for him wherever he's at, no matter what it is. So, just being that guy, he doesn't get them sacks, big plays, TFL, forced fumbles. And, he did that. And, that's just watching him play is just lovely, just trying to take things from him and, just try to improve.
I have a couple more questions for you. 8.5 sacks in Georgia last season. It's a big part of your game. I know a lot of the times you're coming as a rookie and you're like, I don't want any personal goals. I want to do team goals. But is there some sort of personal goal for you going into your rookie season? Is there a goal that like, hey, look, of course, I want to be a team player and win, but I do want to kick ass on the field on my own as well?
Definitely, for sure. I definitely want to make plays and do what I can for the team to win, for sure. It's a team game. So, we all want to win the championship, Super Bowl. But, just trying to get better every week, just trying to put my best foot forward every week.
Right.
The best foot, make the plays, just do whatever I can for the team to win. That's my motto right now, really, for sure.
My final question here, Azeez. I always love watching when the veteran players are always getting on the rookies and making the rookies doing silly things, carrying their gear and all that. Has there been a situation this training camp where you've been the brunt of the rookie hazing?
Yeah, I had to carry the pads off the field after practice. His old Leonard, just a little son just carrying their pads, but it's all part of it. So it was not a big deal. So I did it, did what I had to do, pay my dues.
Of course, you got to pay your dues. But Azeez, thank you very much for coming on. Azeez Ojulari, rookie. Hope you have a great season this year. Stay healthy. And I'm a Giant fan as well. So go win some ball games. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on. That's Azeez Ojulari, New York Giants rookie out of University of Georgia. Appreciate you coming on. Talk about a guy that knows how to win games playing at the University of Georgia with guys that are now on his team. You heard it right there. Azeez knows how to win, and he knows what it takes to win around guys like Joe Judge and Patrick Graham. With this Giants O-line, there is a lot of question marks, but what needs to be the overall factor for them to win games is Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones needs to solidify his Giants career in this season. He needs to win. This isn't his first year. This isn't last year. This is his final third year. Like I was looking at Nick before, and I'm saying it again, like I just said right before the break. I said I'm going to say it with Zach Wilson. I'm going to say it again with Daniel Jones. Year 3, you need to win over the fans, and you need to be successful, and you need to play good. Just how it is. Because, after this season, what are they going to do? If the Giants go under 500 again, they win 4 games or 5 games, and they just play poorly again, what are they going to do? Are they going to go out and say, all right, we're going to use Daniel Jones again? No. You go on to somebody else, unfortunately. You risked that top pick, and you got Daniel Jones. You took a gamble. At first, I did not like him whatsoever. I was not looking forward to Daniel Jones. I wanted somebody else. But he impressed a lot of people his rookie year. I think it was 24 touchdowns. But the one thing that was the outlier there was the fumbles. Fumbled a ton. Way too much. And it turned a lot of people off. This past season, he got a little bit better, but there still was a lot of holes. This is the season that he needs to get better because, let's face it, Saquon's coming back. That's an offensive weapon that he needs. He's back. Is Barkley 100% healthy? We don't know. He didn't participate that much in preseason games. And he was saying, Judge was talking about how we need to get him some live action, tackles, whatever, but then you don't play him in the final preseason game? Okay, so they have Barkley's coming back. You have Sterling Shepard coming back for another year. Kadarius Toney, they drafted first overall, their first-round pick. It's another wide receiver. Darius Slayton, who's become one of my favorites and one of Giant fans' favorite receivers, is coming back for another year. And Slayton-Jones connection has been something, honestly, really nice to see over the last 3 years or so. So he has options. And by the way, Evan Ingram, I know a guy has legit holes for hands. He has a tough time catching, but it's another viable option. And then they went out and got Kyle Rudolph on a 2-year deal. Rudolph is a Pro Bowler, longtime Viking, and he's all-around very good tight end. Very good blocking tight end. Knows how to make plays. Knows how to get himself in the end zone. But that's what you need. And Jones has all the pieces. All of them. Has all the pieces he can ask for. So there is Absolutely no excuse. I understand the offensive line is an issue. I understand. Nate Solder is so bad. They have Will Hernandez. They have Andrew Thomas. I understand they've added some key positions, the key guys in the offseason. But at the end of the day, the offensive line can only do so much to protect Daniel Jones. But Daniel Jones needs to produce on and throw touchdowns. In this final game against the Patriots, there were some moments when you saw Daniel Jones be the guy that Giant fans have been waiting for. Right? We've seen glimpses of Daniel Jones play pretty well, which has been nice. There was that goal line play. He threw a pick right into the end zone, off balance. It was your typical patented Daniel Jones. Not what you want to see whatsoever. 877-337-6666 is the number. Call in, taking Giant Jet calls. Of course, I'll take some Met calls as well. And about, these New York Yankees. And then in this Giants game, the last preseason game, we did see a nice touchdown pass. It's like a basket catch. It's a great throw. It's not like we do notice that Daniel Jones has the talent to do it. He has the talent to be a competitive quarterback. Kyle Rudolph talked about how much he admired Daniel Jones' game. Now, I don't know how much I can believe of that. Like, I don't know who really admires watching Daniel Jones because there's only glimpses of him when he's actually good. And as a Giant fan myself, when I see those once in a blue moon moments in each game, you get excited. Because I think just like Yankee fans were spoiled with Mariano Rivera and Chapman's been so inconsistent, Giant fans have been really spoiled with Eli Manning being so successful as he's an all-time Giant. It's going to be a Hall of Famer, 2 Super Bowls. Giant fans are expecting, hey, look, can Daniel Jones follow right behind him? And clearly the case it's been tough. I interned for the New York Giants in 2016. That's the last time they went to the playoffs. If you guys remember, that was the whole off day. It was the off week right before the first playoff game against the Packers in Lambeau. All the wide receivers went on the boat, partied it up. Looks like they were doing some drugs, whatever it was. It was a bad look, black eye. And ever since that moment, the Giants have just not been good. And Giant fans all over the place want this team back. They want a successful team. And they just haven't got it. You signed Leonard Williams to this 3-year deal, $63 million. A lot of Giant fans were saying, why would we grab a guy like that who didn't really have a crazy amount of success for the Jets? But Leonard Williams has had some sort of success with this team. The Giants go out and get Adoree Jackson. It's a great corner, adding to an unreal secondary already. This Giants defense is looking pretty good. James Bradbury, Logan Ryan, Blake Martinez. You have a lot of guys, Jabril Peppers, I didn't even mention there. They have a lot of guys that can really excite these Giant fans and impress a lot of teams going forward. And it's a perfect matchup for Daniel Jones and this defense to go against a pretty weak team in the Denver Broncos in Week 1. Can Azeez Ojulari really show out as a linebacker for this team? Which as years have gone on, it's got a little bit better, but linebacking core was definitely the weakest link for this Giant defense. Even when I was there in 2016, he was kind of wasn't the most impressive thing. But now we're starting to see the defense is Gettleman starting to do his thing. Now, as much as you hate Gettleman, and I hate him too sometimes, the guy knows how to, he's definitely impressed some people with when it comes to draft picks and getting draft picks for the next years to come. They have 11 total draft picks, including 5 picks in the top 100 and 7 picks in the top 4 rounds next year. So the Giants are in good position going forward, but we don't always want to look into the future. We want to talk about in the present. That's what we want to look at. 877-337-6666 is the number. When we come back, talking more Jets, Giants, I would probably talk a little bit more about the Yankees and Mets. I want you guys to call in when we come back.
Don't wanna be a player.
Back on the fan. Ringold back on the fan. 877-337-6666. That is a jam. That's a jam. I can dance that song all the time. Been playing jams. You've been playing jams, excuse me, all morning long. It's 4:25. I'm here with you till 6 a.m. when Jerry and Sal take over for the morning show from 6 to 10. Call in 877-337-6666. We've been talking some Giants. We just had Azeez Ojulari on. We would talk a little bit about the Jets, talk a lot about the Yankees, a lot about the New York Mets. There's something I do want to talk about for a little bit. It's not really New York, around New York stuff, but watching Cam Newton get cut was the most shocking thing that look, I know he's been played poorly last year, and he was coming in as the starter here, but watching him get cut and then Mac Jones filing right in, it's like very poetic for like Belichick for him to do that. I honestly thought it was a little shocking though, but yeah, so that was just, I needed to rattle that off right off the rip. But I do want to kind of talk a little bit more about this Giants team and overall the Jets comparison here. Both these teams are going into this season with so many question marks about, Robert Saleh is this new head coach for the Jets. He had a lot of success in San Francisco, and will he translate that over to being the head coach for the New York Jets? I think he will. I think the New York Jets this season are going to have a lot of success. Losing Carl Lawson, definitely a big loss. But I think overall this Jets team's going to impress a lot of people. This overall AFC East, there's a lot of young talent. Josh Allen being the oldest quarterback of the bunch, with Tua being super young and Zach Wilson being super young, and now Mac Jones being the starter for the Patriots here. It is just really nice to see, honestly, this young talent coming in. But can the Jets translate with the new talent at the quarterback's position? Jets fans have been waiting for success, and Jets fans have been waiting for fun and waiting for a team to be successful. But I think Tony Romo comparing and seeing some sort of potential of Zach Wilson being a Patrick Mahomes type player only puts more pressure on Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's got a ton of pressure already, but reading this quote from Romo, who has done a great job post-quarterback, post-Cowboy career, but this is a comment that I think maybe he shouldn't have said. All these quarterbacks in this division have so much pressure. I think Allen has the least amount of pressure because he's already had success in this league already. But you have Tua and Wilson and now Mac Jones all competing at the rookie level to impress their fan bases and to impress everybody else. I mean, Nick, like if you're a Jet fan and you're hearing that kind of statement, is it something you want to hear or you don't want to hear? Because I as a Jet fan, I probably wouldn't want to hear that at all, because it's just like, oh my God, just like the comparisons need to end.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's way too early. And for Tony Romo to go out and say something like that and make that kind of comparison, especially with the years that Patrick Mahomes has had in the past couple of years,
yeah,
man, you're really throwing that fishing reel out there hoping to get a bite.
Yeah, look, Zach Wilson's had success this past season, 2020. 360, over 300,000, 3,000 yards passing. It's only 4:30 in the morning, guys. I know it's a little early for me. Over 3,000 yards passing, 33 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 10 rushing touchdowns. He has it all. But to put him in a conversation like that with a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who's been legitimately like a cheat code for his career so far, is irresponsible. Is kind of a harsh word to say, but just I would say overall dumb. I understand Romo, what he's trying to do. I think he's trying to do the right thing and trying to hype up these players. And also this creates a storyline like I'm trying to talk right now. But having Zach Wilson know that Romo said, has the ability to get to the stratosphere of Mahomes. That's got to be like, Jesus, like, I already got enough pressure, man. Like, why do you got to put this extra crap on me when the New York Jets haven't had success, either head coach or quarterback, in years? In years, you haven't had someone who's legitimately been a very good quarterback. Vinny Testaverde was that guy who was very, very good. Like, Ryan Fitzpatrick had a decent years here, but it wasn't anything that could impress Jet fans and maybe bring them into the promised land. But Zach Wilson has so much pressure already that he needs to have success, needs to beat up on the division, needs to make the playoffs. And that's a lot for a kid from BYU who didn't really play that tough of competition, being that it's an independent team and with no conference. You're asking a lot from a guy like that. Now, with Daniel Jones, is a little different. He's had the experience already. He knows what it takes. He's played against really good teams and also poor teams, and he hasn't had the crazy amount of success. But Joe Judge is a difference maker in this team. He brings that Belichick attitude, which we've seen, and he brings that mindset, that the next man up mindset, where everyone has to do their part. And Adam Gase was never that guy for the Jets. He was so inconsistent on his decision-making. And, I mean, decision-making in any sport, I would think decision-making is the most crucial in football. One play could change the entire outcome of a game. And Adam Gase consistently was a guy who was like, I'm going to just mess it up for everybody. We're going to put the best talent out there, which overall the talent was terrible. You didn't have any good wide receivers to help out Darnold. You had no protection. The running game was non-existent. Basically, it was not even a part of the game. So Jet fans had the right to get mad and also the right to get really excited with this whole situation with Zach Wilson. 877-337-6666. His number is 4:30 a.m. in New York City. Ringold on the Fan, talking Jets and Giants. Just had Azeez Ojulari, second-round pick for the New York Giants. On at the top of the hour, we talked about how getting drafted out of Georgia, talked about his first week in training camp, his first season in training camp, and the experiences behind that. And training camp is such a crucial thing for both of these teams and every team in the NFL, trying to gauge out who is going to be on each team. But not only that, where people going to be ranking in the depth chart and how these rookies are going to perform. Zach Wilson didn't perform enough games for a lot of people to judge. I mean, look, 15 of 20, 191 yards and 2 touchdowns isn't a lot to judge. But when you look around and you look at training camp and you look at the practices and stuff like that, then there's other things like that. You can say, look, we're seeing some positives in his game. He knows how to work in the pocket, knows how to throw the deep ball. He's playing better with this and that. So there's that you can rely on. You can't really rely on the game so much. Those are for the guys who want to make the roster. But for Daniel Jones, I wish Joe Judge played more of the starter offensive players. We didn't see Barkley, which I wanted to see Barkley so bad in that last preseason game. So I want him to get beat up. I want him to get hit. I want him to actually see some live action. Barkley was out last year. And without Barkley, this team was pretty bad. Like really, really, really bad. When this crappy offensive line has been upgraded a little bit more, I know it's going to take a lot of hits on Barkley, but certain guys need to be looked at. And Barkley is one of them. You need to see him get hit. You need to see him take live snaps from Jones. I want to see him run 20, 30 yards and see how he does. I want to see him break a tackle. And that's something where, as a Giant fan looking at it, you got to say, like, is he going to be ready for week 1? And that's definitely a question mark going into this game. Now, the Giants are facing the Broncos. The Broncos aren't the best team in the world, but they have 2 guys on the edge that can really get the job done, and Von Miller and Bradley Chubb can really give some headaches for this offensive line and overall Saquon Barkley. But you can't be scared. Joe Judge and the rest of this team, Jason Garrett, his job is on the line if he doesn't have a successful year with the Giants this year, you can't be scared with a guy like Barkley. The risks need to be taken. And you just need to let him play. Let the kids play. That's what you need to do. Gettleman got this guy for a reason, to run people over. Now, I know he's got hurt. He's got injuries. But they didn't get anybody else to replace Barkley of a not even like a close level. So there needs to be a change in that sense. Barkley needs to play. And hopefully he does play in week 1. And hopefully we see some sort of improvement from Daniel Jones in week 1, because the New York media here is going to absolutely roast him if he doesn't. It's obvious. Now, Nick, you're a Giants fan. If week 1 happens and they get blown out, the defense plays poorly, and Daniel Jones has another Daniel Jones play, automatically you're automatically in doubt, right? This season's gonna be terrible.
I mean, I'm not a big as a football fan, but from a fan's perspective, you would definitely look at it as, okay, there are points to be worried, but then again, it is week 1. So I wouldn't freak out right away. I know other Giants fans might freak out right away because they might just be like, oh, well, here we go again, start of another bad season, but I don't know. I wouldn't freak out as much, but if there were a lot of things that need to be worked on, maybe, but I don't know.
This Giants team just needs this week 1 win because they've added so much on the offensive side. They've added some pieces on the defensive side. They drafted really well with the first 2 picks with Ojulari and, of course, Kadarius Toney, which I really can't wait to see him play. I wish I saw a little bit more of him. But people are excited for these 2 guys. I know the rest of the draft. I know these other guys that were picked, Aaron Robinson and other guys like that. But the first 2 guys automatically come to me because, they come from programs where the winning culture, right? Florida's a winning culture. Georgia's a winning culture. All they do is win. Now, some people might not think like you bring a rookie in, maybe you can bring that. Could they bring that some sort of winning mentality back in and to the NFL level? That's some reasons why players get drafted from these big schools. Not only that, because they're unbelievable at what they do, but they have produced at that level. Look, the Giants traded back from 11 to 20 to get to Kadarius Toney because they trusted him. They believe, they love what they see. They love what they saw from Florida. Now, with the Eagles, the ones to ruin the Giants' plans of getting Devontae Smith, absolutely. And as a Giant fan, watching that unfold was horrible. I was so livid. But Toney built like a running back, has tons of speed for a team that has a lot of speed offensively already. That's what you need. Giants got more offense, more additions. That's what they need. And they got it, but hopefully Daniel Jones has the ability to turn this around. 877-337-6666. We'll take a break in a minute, but what I do want to talk about more is talk about more of the baseball side of it. We're going to talk a little bit more baseball for the rest of the show here. Unless callers want to call in and talk Giants and Jets, go for it. But I love the whole Jeff Lunal and Theo Epstein conversation we talked about a couple hours ago about what can the Mets do in the offseason with Zack Scott and what his role will be going forward. I really wonder what the role is going to be going forward for the rest of the month. He didn't go on the road trip, right? He's not going to be there for the next couple of games. Maybe this should be an indefinite thing. Maybe it should be for the rest of the season. He shouldn't be tagging along with the team. He shouldn't be taking any conversations. He shouldn't be talking to the media, which I'm sure he's going to have to eventually talk to the media. But for his sake, the Mets' sake, Steve Cohen's sake, stay away from the media and stay away from everybody because your days are numbered here in New York. And there's guys out there that want jobs. Lunal probably wants a job more than anybody. He's probably had enough time with his family hanging out during COVID and not having a job, and probably wants a job right now. And Theo Epstein's out there too. There's a lot that needs to be changed in New York for the New York Mets. I love talking about that in the first couple hours. We're going to talk more about that for the rest of the show, unless people want to talk about New York, the Jets and the Giants. We'll talk about a lot of Yankees and Mets. I'm a baseball guy. I played college baseball. I love talking baseball. So when we come back, 877-337-6666 is the number. I want to hear from you guys. What do you want changed from this New York Mets team? I'll tell you more when we come back. Ringold back on the fan, 877-337-6666. Tweet at me at Taylor Ringold, TaylorRingold. Tweet at me. We've had people tweet at me a couple times this morning. It's been nice taking your calls. Been hearing a lot of people talk about these Mets calling in. If you want to call in, 877-337-6666 is the number. Update at 5 a.m. And then we got one more hour left of me, Taylor Ringold, on the fan. So I was talking about the Mets and about how there needs to be some sort of changes in what there needs to change going forward. And a caller talked about Jeff Luhnow, who was one of the better GMs at the time for this Mets team. For this Astros team, back when the Astros were absolutely horrific. And then the Astros became what we know today as this World Series championship team, also a bunch of cheaters. But Jeff Luhnow has been given credit for being a very good GM. And the option came out. It's like, hey, maybe Jeff Luhnow could be an option for the Mets. I don't hate it. I don't. But I would like Theo Epstein more. Theo Epstein's got a storied past with a lot of success, not a lot of failure. Winning 2 rings, winning actually multiple rings, Red Sox and Cubs, and being successful in taking organizations that didn't have a lot of winning in the past, and now it's been winning ball clubs. I mean, the Cubs this year are now one of the worst teams in the league because they traded everybody away. But that's what the Mets need. And leadership from Zack Scott has not been there. And owning accountability and saying I did it wrong, and there needs to be some sort of change. And Steve Cohen talks a lot on Twitter, talks a lot, people either like it or they don't. I'm a little 50-50 on it, but for a guy who talks a lot on Twitter, there needs to be a lot of talking from him going forward on what the future for the Mets is going to be. Because right now the future of the Mets is so lost. This Mets team has no idea what they are. They're an under 500 team. Without DeGrom, they're just a very bad team. DeGrom and Stroman, the 1-2 punch that they've done this year. And Taijuan Walker's had his moments. He's an all-star, good first half. Second half he's been non-existent. Carlos Carrasco coming in this Lindor trade, I thought was a very good, very, very good addition in this trade. And Carrasco has not been what the Mets and Met fans have been hoping to see. Noah Syndergaard out for seems like eternity. Probably should shut him down the rest of the year. Shouldn't even come back. They should shut down DeGrom, because there's no reason to come back. There's just a lot of question marks going forward. The future is just unsettling for this team, and it all has to start at the top. Because players you can throw away here, throw away there, get new ones, and kind of rebuild that way. But you need guys at the top to lead the organization, and then hopefully when an organization changes at the top, usually you see the organization change going throughout. When it comes to the players and managers and coaches all changing together. 877-337-6666 is the number. Call in. I want to hear you guys' Mets takes at 6 a.m. You have Jerry and Sal filling in for Boomer and Gio for the morning show. I'm here for about an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes left. Talking a lot of Yankees, a lot of Mets here. This change for the Mets It seems like, looking at it, it's going to be a lot of work. But honestly, Steve Cohen can just make these moves as soon as the season's over. As soon as the last day of the season's over, I guarantee you we're going to see some serious changes within the 24, 48-hour range of the season being over. When I worked for the Twins in 2018, the season prior, they go to the playoffs. They get rocked by the Yankees, per usual. The following season, there was so many things that Twins fans were excited about. They basically got the same exact team from last year coming back. You add Lance Lynn in the free agency. You add Logan Morrison, who the year prior hit over 30 home runs for the Tampa Bay Rays. I think he had almost 40 home runs. So there's so much promise for the Minnesota Twins that year. I'm there interviewing people. I'm seeing all these players coming through, and as the season's going down, there's just not a lot of fun going on in that Twins clubhouse. Not a lot of fun. They're a subpar team. They're a 500 ball club. I think there were like 7 or 8 games under 500 to finish the year. Paul Molitor, who was the manager at the time, got fired, relieved of his position, 48 hours after the season was over, 72 hours, something like that. And then there was a quick change. But that's what needs to happen for this New York Mets team. Unfortunately, Rojas is that guy. He's going to have to take the fall. And him not knowing this whole thumbs down thing, I think it's a load of crap. I think he definitely did know. But there needs to be a change. And it's because Steve Cohen needs to be the leader. If Lindor can't lead his team on the field, it is basically his team. When DeGrom's not out there, Lindor, it's your team, dude. You're here for 10 years. You have to be that guy. You have to be. And I ripped apart Lindor about not being a leader and him not leading. And if you don't have a leader on the field, how are you going to have any success going forward in your tenure here in New York? The New York media is the hardest media to get around on their good side. It's what it is. Nick and I have been just fans of New York sports forever. We've been around teams that just flip-flop and they win or they lose or they're really winning championships we've only seen the Yankees and the Giants really have success around here, but as Yankee fans, you're spoiled because you haven't seen 90 lost seasons like the Mets have. Giant fans, yes, you've seen some bad teams over the last decade or so. But for Yankee fans, you guys have been very lucky, not making the playoffs that one year. It was 2008, winning like 84 games. A lot of teams, the New York Mets would take 84 wins. The Mets haven't been anything since their World Series run and losing to the Royals. They haven't been anything. The Wilpons were an ownership that really ruined this franchise, not signing guys when they had the money to, not letting guys go when they should have. But with Steve Cohen coming into play, this is a guy that can change it up. And he did his job coming into this season. You got to give Steve Cohen that. You have to. Met fans, you wanted a premier middle infielder, a big bat in the top of that lineup. Well, you got it. He just hasn't been producing. You wanted a catcher that can hit for power and gap-to-gap power. You got your guy in James McCann. He hasn't produced. You want bullpen help? You got Trevor May. Not contributing consistently. You guys starting pitching. You got Stroman. You got Taijuan Walker. You got Carrasco. Not everyone's producing. And when the whole team doesn't produce, bad things happen. And bad things happen like this whole booing scandal saga. And you just add the Zack Scott thing there, just makes it worse. We got Fred on the fan. Fred on the fan. Say that 100 times in a row. Fred, what's up, man? Ooh, Fred, you there?
I'm here, yes.
How are you, Fred? What's up?
I'm just listening to a bunch of sadistic stuff because you know what? You still have to play the games. And you don't know what's going to happen in the next 30 games. And I've seen it many times where pennant races get turned around. Everything you're saying is true, but that doesn't matter to a fan. A fan pays his money, a fan watches games, and that's what they live for. So I think this attitude is bad. And you can see that by what happened in the last 4 days. It's flipped around 4 games. And they had to exist without their star pitchers. If their star pitchers were there, they would be 10 games ahead. So you're missing all that point from the fans' angle.
And it sounds like you're a very angry fan, Fred. Am I right?
I'm not angry. I've been in baseball for 60 years, okay? Representing players, doing things after the World Series, mainly the Mets in 86, 87. Being sadistic is not how you're successful in baseball, and you're going to learn that. I mean, I don't know where you come from, but to tell the fans it's over, it's not over. It's not over.
Oh, Fred, yes, it is. This season's all wrapped up.
Listen, I stayed up to talk to you for 3 minutes. That's all. I've said what I'm going to say, and let's see what happens, because all you're doing is dwelling on the past. The past doesn't always bear out exactly. So, and you're probably a young guy too.
Yeah, I'm a young guy. I'm 26. I've played baseball. Fred, thank you for calling on. Fred, I played baseball in college. I know what baseball is, and you can recognize when a team isn't in it for a season. This team is not in it to win it. They need to go almost perfect. They need to almost go perfect in the month of September. They're competing against the Braves and the Phillies. That's just those teams in their division. Hey, what about the teams in the West? Dodgers, Padres, Giants. Good luck competing with one of those 2 teams to go make it as a wild card team, because God knows that you guys are not winning the division. It's just not happening. Fred was not happy. He was not happy. And guess what? I like that. I like that you weren't happy in my comments. I'm a young guy. Doesn't matter if I'm a young guy or not. It's right in front of you. This team is just not a consistent ball club. When you have so many inconsistencies at the plate, let's just talk about that first. At the plate, runners in scoring position, can't get it done. Moving runners over, can't get it done. Timely hitting, can't get it done. Consistently inconsistent does not win you ball games, does not win you the division. And Fred, flat out, man, this team has been wrapped up. They've been done for, I don't know, a month or so. I mean, look, they had a month in May. They went 17-9 in May. June and July, they were basically 500 teams. You can't play 500 baseball in the National League East. You just can't do it. You want to compete in the National League East, which is one of the most competitive divisions in all of baseball, then you need to be almost perfect every day. And good luck in the month of September. And I sometimes I don't like talking like this, but sometimes you gotta just it's right in front of you. You gotta just speak the truth. I'm saying as a Yankee fan, and I've been watching the Yankees for 3 years here at the Fan. This team is not going to win the division. It's obvious they're not going to win the division. The Rays are too damn good. And the Yankees, if they make the wild card, that's all they're going to win. They're not going to win that opening round, whoever it's against. And that's what New York fans sometimes are so they're so in their own world sometimes. Being realistic as a fan is important. I love the diehard fans, the diehard Met fans, the diehard Yankee fans, whoever. I love how you guys go out there, wear the jerseys. If you paint your face, you're a little crazy, whatever it is. But you have to be realistic and figure out that when it's time to recognize that a season's just not going to go anywhere, it's almost a good thing recognizing, because you're not going to give your hopes up. You know? When the New York Mets coming into this year, there's a lot of attention and a lot of good things were supposed to happen. DeGrom was on his way to winning his millionth Cy Young award and bring this team to the playoffs. You add Lindor, with McNeil up the middle. Those two guys up the middle, unreal. And then you have Dom Smith, Conforto, Nimmo, J.D. Davis. You add James McCann. You added, Jonathan VR has been a nice guy as a utility infielder who's played pretty well, if I don't say so myself. But you have all these offensive guys, and almost all of them have been really inconsistent. And Pete Alonso is definitely on top of that list as one of the most inconsistent hitters in this lineup. And you can say what you want about Alonso and his offensive bat, but he is a leader on this team, and I do appreciate what he's done as a leader on this team. 877-337-6666 is the number. I want to hear your calls. We're talking about the New York Mets right now and how bad they've been. I've been ragging on them all show long. It's now 3 hours. And I kind of like it because it's well-deserved. They won 2 games versus the Marlins in the doubleheader, which, frankly, that 9-7 doubleheader is so weird. I did that my whole college career. Either you do 2 7s or you just 2 9s. I think it's very weird, and I don't think fans like that. I don't think fans even like the 2 7s. Some people do. Anyway, when you win those 2 games, Met fans are excited. They're going to maybe forget about the booing thing. Well, I'm not. I'm going to remember the booing thing. It might be a little over dramatic, but I'll talk more about the Mets, more about the Yankees when we come back. 5 a.m. on the Fan. Ringold back with you for one more hour. Coming up at 6 a.m. is Jerry and Sal with the morning show. It's been a nice show. This is a good song, too. I like this. This is very nice, Nick. Good job. Nick Matina's been with me the entire show. Great producer. I just was ranting and raving about this Mets team. And Fred supposedly tried calling back in. That didn't work. But Fred was not happy. And guess what? Not happy with me being a little too harsh on the Mets. Shouldn't look in the past. Should look at the future. But it's hard not to. How do you not look at what they've done this season? A team of just really inconsistent and just not fun baseball to watch. I mean, for us at the Fan, it generates content, generates stuff to talk about and what needs to change. And unfortunately, Rojas is going to be one of those guys that, like I mentioned many times before on the show, is that he's going to get the short end of the stick and get let go. That's just how it's going to be. We're also talking Yankees, of course. And we got Sam from New Jersey. Sam, you're on the Fan. What's up?
Good morning, buddy. Thanks for taking the call.
Yeah.
I disagree with you with the White Sox. I think the only team right now that I'm afraid of is the Rays, but also the Yankees' problem is going to be that they're going to play in a wild card game. If they get past the wild card game, it will be them and the Rays in the ALCS, or if they play the Rays before that.
Yeah, look, both those teams are super competitive, Sam, and if they do end up winning the wild card game, which I think they will, if it's the Red Sox, I mean, the talent, the other teams that would be facing the Yankees would be either, Oakland or, in some world, Seattle might come in and scoop up that second wild card spot. The Yankees have the upper hand. The Rays are just way too dominant. But I think the White Sox, I will stand by this. I think the White Sox are the most powerful team in this American League, strictly because you can just start off, like I mentioned a couple hours ago, you mentioned the overall pitching. Rotation and bullpen is, I'd say, it's the best comparable in the league. At one point, you could even say the best in the league when it comes to that.
Well, I don't really want to argue and get loud with you and everything.
Get loud with me, Sam. I want to hear it.
Okay, well, the 3-game series showed everything. The Yankees should have won all 3 games, but they showed that they could handle the Chicago's pitching. Giolito isn't much. Okay? That's why I'm not afraid of the White Sox.
I understand.
And I actually do think that they're going to handle the Rays.
You really think they're going to handle the Rays and that? And
Yes, I do.
really?
Well, what were you watching before they lost these 4 in a row?
Look,
when they won 23 out of 28 games.
I understand, Sam.
And
But
they weren't
inconsistencies with this Yankee
teams.
bullpen, though. Yeah, but it's the inconsistencies with the
I'm
Yankee
not-
bullpen.
Well, that's because okay, Britton's gone.
Okay,
Did you watch Mr. Chapman last night?
Sam, it was one game, and I'm very happy for Chapman.
And wait a minute now. Did you notice something different about him?
I know it's something very different. He was throwing a lot harder.
Okay. Well, I think going forward, he's going to be Chapman, and that's enough said right there. When you still got the young kid, Chad Green, he's a little shaky this year because he is giving up home runs. But Loizaga, man, he's the real deal.
Look, Sam, what we saw,
and I like Holmes.
Yeah, from last night. But Holmes is a guy. Would you trust Holmes pitching in a playoff game?
Big time.
Oh my God, Sam! I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy, Sam. What we saw tonight with Cole.
One bad outing.
What we saw with Cole, Loizaga, Chapman is something that Yankee fans have been dying to see. Those three together, 1, 2, 3, lights out, and that's what we saw tonight. This last night. But
right,
one of the callers asked about talking about overusing Loizaga, and I think the Yankees have been doing that. And honestly, they had no choice because Chapman's been inconsistent. Chad Green gets an opportunity to close. He's been inconsistent. Britton, he's been really a dumpster fire of a pitcher this year, which is a shame. And now he's out for the year. So when you start piling on a lot of innings for Loizaga, and it's going to be a lot of Chapman, a lot of Chad Green going down the stretch, trying to push and stay in this wild card spot, it's going to be tough going into the playoffs with guys that are tired, Sam. Those guys be really tired.
I do understand that. They're going to have to be careful with Loizaga. They can't burn him out, that's for sure. So, if the Yankees aren't going to get the division, then they're going to take it easy, as long as they have a wild card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, if they have to fight for the wild card, then there might be a little burnout going. But it's going to be a dogfight for everybody.
And that's what's perfect. Sam, thank you for calling on the Fan. But that's what we love about this sport. It's a dogfight to the end. And that's what we're going to be seeing with this New York Yankee team, definitely the Mets. But that's what's so much fun about baseball in the month of September when your team is a playoff team. Watching the New York Yankees this September is going to be so much fun. And working in this building is going to be so much fun to watch. Edge of your seat kind of stuff. Because this team is capable of making the playoffs. I just don't think they're going to make it far. And to Sam's point, talking about the White Sox, and the White Sox are ain't nothing. Giolito's okay. They hit it around them. Yeah. They should have won that first game, the Field of Dreams game, which was unbelievable. Awesome game to watch. Tim Anderson did his thing with the walk-off Britton. But it's the wear and tear on your starters and your bullpen, because we know that it's Cole and then question mark after that. Who's going to step up? Andrew Heaney, God know he's not going to be part of that rotation. He might not even be on the playoff roster when it's all said and done for that wild card game. But when Gerrit Cole shoves in that wild card game and throws 7-8 innings, and then you have either the Loizaga or Chapman close it out, and they win it, you're going to trust Jameson Taillon going game 1 against the Rays, and then who's your 2, 3, 4? So you have to do Cole on 3 days rest. It's going to be a lot. So that's why this month Aaron Boone needs to do a really good job of how to manage pitching, and that's something he's had a really hard time this year. Is how to manage these pitchers, when to take guys out, when to keep them in. And like Holmes is a nice story. He's a nice guy. He's definitely been serviceable for this Yankee rotation. This Yankee bullpen. But you're going to want to, in the bright lights in the 7th inning or the 6th inning of a playoff game at Tropicana Field, you want him to be in that position, runners on first and second, or he's coming in on a brand new inning. I don't see that being a situation that I think Aaron Boone will put himself in. He's going to try stretching out these starters as long as they can and then go into the bullpen. I was talking to somebody yesterday about would Nestor Cortes be an opener-style pitcher in the playoffs? One game of Nestor Cortes being an opener in the playoffs could really ruin this bullpen going forward if they continue to go forward in the playoffs. The opener is a situation where, like, I remember when I was working for the Twins and that first started happening in 2018. I interviewed a pitcher on the Twins and asked him what was his opinion on it, and he said he hated it, and he says it's never going to work. But the Rays told everybody it is going to work, and for some pitchers it does, and for some teams it does. And we've also seen teams that it really does not work out for them. But I can't see Boone maybe doing a situation like that. You're risking way too much for your bullpen, where it's been gassed all year long. And it's been bullpen by committee, Johnny Hull's staff, whatever you want to call it, trying to figure out what this bullpen's going to be like down the stretch in September and hopefully October. Now, look, Sam was given a point about, did you see Chapman tonight? Like, yeah, dude, I did. I watched the game. I saw that there was a little difference. Even Susan said it as soon, I was listening on the radio and I saw here when I got to the studio here, Susan said it right off the bat, right when I said it to myself. He said, you can see he's not aiming the fastball anymore, what we've seen in the past this season. When he starts aiming the fastball, it's 96, 97. But when he's throwing it and being the Chapman we know, he was hitting 99, 100, and 101 in last night's game. You got to be happy that for an opportunity for Chapman to be successful against any team. You know, the Angels aren't really a competitive offense except for Ohtani, and you can even say Jared Walsh too. But you got, I understand what Sam's saying. You got to take the moments when you get them, but you can't say like, oh yeah, we got our guy back. You don't. You need to see more out of Chapman. And there's going to be opportunities this year when big games need to be won, and Chapman's going to be thrown out there because it's his job. It's his job. And he's lost it multiple times this year. I remember when he put that Instagram photo out saying, give me a chance and I'll be the old Chapman. I'll be back. It was super corny. And, look, he took the booze like the Mets players didn't. But what we saw this night, Cole Loizaga Chapman, is a recipe that Yankee fans have been wanting all year long. And Loizaga has been a great story. Being a starter, converted to a bullpen guy, kind of trying to figure out what his role is. Long man, middle relief, eighth inning, closer. Well, he's reliable in a sense where he can be any of those guys. Probably not a starter, but we can see him in any spot in the rotation, which is nice because Zach Britton wasn't that guy this year at all, and Chad Green's has had his really, really good moments, and he's had also his horrific, crappy moments. This is Taylor Ringold on The Fan. We're talking Yankees and Mets. Talked about the Giants and Jets earlier. Had Azeez Ojulari on before, second-round pick for this New York Mets team. And we're talking a lot more baseball for the rest of the hour here. Probably going to go break in a couple minutes here. But the Yankees and Mets are totally different spots here. And Sam did really preface that he believes this team can go far unless they run into some of these big teams, which they are. And I don't think they're going to succeed against the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay Rays know how to win. Kevin Cash is a pretty damn good manager. The White Sox, if they run into the White Sox, Tony La Russa has won a couple of games in his career, won a couple World Series. He's had his up and down moments this year with the, getting mad at, Yermin Mercedes swinging 3-0, which, I get it. Why someone would get mad at it. I also say, let the kids play. But this White Sox team is a lot scarier than people think. And I've been trying to say that to people that I know on my own show and then even on The Fan the last 4 hours. I've been trying to tell people the White Sox are a dangerous team that do not be messed with. We're talking more Yankees and more Mets when we come back. Ringold back on the fan, 877-337-6666. I'm with you to the top of the hour at 6 a.m. when Jerry and Sal take over for the morning show until 10 a.m. We got a caller on the line, Pat from Berkeley Heights. Pat, you're on the fan.
Taylor, how are you? Glad to hear that your first show is going swimmingly, and happy that you made it through the storm, as crazy as it was.
Pat, thanks, man. Yeah, it's been a while on here because, it's funny. My producer Nick's looking at train schedules after each break and trying to figure out how we can get home. But, Pat, what's up?
Not much. I just wanted to call and talk about the Mets and the craziness and the storms of their own that they've had this week.
Yeah, and Pat, I actually know you very well because you work for Sports Illustrated. I'm pretty surprised you even called in, but you work for Sports Illustrated covering the Mets. And what has gone on with this Mets team internally that you can maybe share with us?
Yeah, so it's a new year. Steve Cohen took over the Mets this year, and they were supposed to not be a laughingstock anymore. And unfortunately, the same type of issues have gone on. And this week, it's never been on more than full display than even during the Wilpon era. That it started off over the weekend with the thumbs down gesture towards fans that Javier Baez revealed in our post-game Zoom. And it kind of set off a whirlwind, and then the Mets reacted a bit, and Sandy Alderson was quick to release a pretty lengthy statement reprimanding the players and calling the behavior unacceptable. And it kind of just made things worse. And lo and behold, after their off day on Monday, we had Tuesday, and Javier Baez and Francisco Lindor were in front of the dugout in a scrum of reporters, and they were apologizing for what was said and what they say.
It seemed like it was a forced apology almost.
Well, yeah, but also they were saying it was a misunderstanding.
Right.
What confuses me is that I don't really know how it was a misunderstanding, because Baez did say he was frustrated and they were frustrated with the booing they were getting, and when they were doing something good, they were booing the fans back, and to repay them for all the booing that they've been getting when they haven't come through.
Yeah.
So
do you see with Zack Scott's situation, how, Pat, you covered the Mets with Sports Illustrated here. What's the situation with Scott going forward? I know this story is very new in the fact that it's been over almost 24 hours with this story, but I've been talking all morning about the future of Zack Scott and who should replace him. Theo Epstein's been the name that's been brought up the last 24 hours. I call her, say, Jeff Lunau, who was the GM for the Astros at one point. But are we going to be seeing Zack Scott throughout the rest of the year, or is he going to be cutting ties pretty quick?
So I don't think it's necessarily a end-all, be-all fireable offense right now. Obviously, anything can happen, and it's a really bad look what happened. And it also comes a few weeks after Zack Scott called out his players for not complying with the performance staff with hydration and taking care of their bodies. And then the message wasn't consistent, because then, of course, he got popped for drunk driving earlier this week. So he's not traveling with the team to D.C. When they head out there tomorrow. So he's it pretty much, unfortunately, all but probably exasperated his chances of getting that acting tag removed next season. I'm not sure that they move on from him now, but it does seem like, it was inevitable anyway that they were going to bring in a new president of baseball operations, and Sandy Alderson wasn't supposed to take over that role. He only did because Steve Cohen wasn't able to hire the person he wanted, or at least was comfortable with. So Sandy took it over, even though he's more so wanting to be in an advisor role. And they brought in Porter, and Porter, of course, got fired for the inappropriate text messages, and Scott took over. And Scott was maybe going to stick around under the new president of baseball ops, and Theo Epstein is the one who gave Scott his first job in baseball. But at this point now, with everything that's happening, it doesn't really seem very likely that Scott sticks around with, even if Theo does come in and there's the familiarity there. I think Theo's definitely the number one candidate, though, the sexiest name out there, and it all just kind of depends on if he wants the job. I've heard that Theo Epstein wants an ownership stake in whatever team he goes to work for next,
Pat, I don't
along
think
with
that's going to be
baseball ops.
I don't think that's going to be an option. Somebody mentioned that before. Pat, really appreciate you hopping on here. Good friend of mine, and definitely a surprising call. Appreciate that. Thank you, man.
Of course, congrats on the show, Taylor. Hopefully many more. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, man. Pat has a good point with the Theo Epstein thing, the sexiest man out there, and we've mentioned that all show here, that it would be nice to get that. And you talk about a leader up front in the front office is what you need. And Brian from Medford wants to talk about how Mets have no leadership. Brian, you're on the fan.
Yeah, I just had to call in. I mean, I almost fell asleep listening to that last guy. I mean, he didn't. I know he works for Sports Illustrated, but give us something new. He's just reading the clip notes from the last week. The real problem is there's no leadership on the field or off the field. I'm not even a Mets fan, and I can see this in Iowa. The guys in the organization know their days are numbered.
Right.
So it's like having a substitute teacher at the end of the year. Just running wild. I mean, it's not that obvious. I mean, yeah, he gets a DUI. Turn the page, it's over with. He's not going to be here. I mean, it's not a big deal. And with the Theo Epstein thing, I mean, I think everyone's getting a little ahead of themselves. He took a job in MLB because his main goal, and he said it, is to be commissioner.
Absolutely. And
so I really don't think he's going to take that step back just to come help these Mets fans that are starving for something.
Yeah,
Maybe
it is
more realistic.
Right, Brian, and it's just it's a great topic point to throw out there, because when the name is out there, and we know that he has this great history of being a GM. But there's that point where I even remember when Theo got the job and everyone was like, hey, look, I think this is just the first stepping stone to getting that spot where Rob Manfred is, but we don't know how long Rob Manfred's going to be around. And honestly, I'd take Theo Epstein over Rob Manfred any day of the week being the commissioner of baseball. Now, is it pretty to have a name like that become your new GM? Absolutely. Will you have success? Absolutely will have success. But like you even brought up, and even in your top point here, no leadership. There's no leadership at all throughout the whole team.
No. So you get, pick and choose, nitpick here, nitpick there, DUI, this and that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a month left. Just turn the page. Everyone relax and just focus on something else.
Exactly right, Brian. Brian, thank you for calling on. 877-337-6666 is the number. Got a half hour left with you guys, where we've talked a lot about these Mets teams, this Met team, and talking about the leadership has been the number one topic about this overall team, that it's just non-existent. It's just not here. And to have a team like the Mets with all this talent not producing, there's not a lot of leadership up front in the management position. What are you going to do? And Brian made a good point about how maybe people are getting ahead of themselves. Maybe Met fans are getting excited at the name Theo Epstein's being brought up. I mean, as a baseball fan, I hear Theo Epstein, the conversation of him going to a new team. It is exciting, because having that smart of a guy back in baseball in the GM role, or even team president role, like Sandy Alderson needs to go, so maybe he can take his role, whatever it is. You have Theo Epstein in the building. He's going to change your team. Now, when he got there with the Cubs, it was a totally different story. There really wasn't a lot of talent. Starlin Castro was their best player. Wasn't a lot going on, so it took a little bit of time for Theo Epstein to bring talent-wise, drafting great players, getting good trades, getting in prospects, and getting that. With the Mets, there is talent here. There is. It's when you mix in guys getting – look, the team was just rattled with injuries all year. DeGrom, McCann, Lindor, Baez, Betances, Syndergaard. You could even name guys like, Luciano and David Peterson as guys that have just been out consistently. And the injury woes are definitely a thing to bring down a team's mentality and keeping them in the game and keep them competitive. Having injuries like that can ruin a ball club, not only because you don't have your best players out there, but there could be like a loss of hope when you see DeGrom continuously getting hurt and going on the 60-day IL and question marks that they should even bring him. The fact that there's question marks talked about, should we even bring him back for this season? I'm assuming these players in the Mets, when they hear this, like, should we even bring him back? Well, they think, yeah, we should bring him back because we want him to play. We want him to try helping us go to the playoffs. But I'm sure when they hear quotes like that and hear article topic points saying, should they even bring DeGrom back, they must be thinking, oh, so the season's over. And I'm sure they are absolutely destroyed when they hear something like that and they got to push through and not go against the fans and cancel out the noise. And that's something they've done poorly, obviously, all year long. And it's kind of the tipping point has definitely tipped over now in all this, the booing saga with Javy, Baez, Lindor, and all that. So there needs to be leadership change all throughout. And the Yankees have that. The Yankees have leadership with Aaron Judge and Stanton and Cole and even Aaron Boone, who has been there in situations of winning. And has he really won much? Has he won a World Series? No, he has not. He's gotten a team into the World Series as a manager and a player, but there's the winning mentality, even being just a Yankee. There's this Yankee winning mentality that comes with throwing the pinstripes on and throwing on a Mets jersey and a Mets uni. Lately, there's not a lot of confidence with that. You go to this team, you're either going to have a fan base love you or they don't, which is kind of typical of any fan base. But also, there's a lot of you're supposed to win in New York. It's just how it goes. And if you don't win, you're going to hear about it. And that's what they've been doing. And with that, a lot of things have fallen by the wayside. 877-337-6666 is the number. Jerry and Sal at the top of the hour for the next 4 hours. I'm done at 6. I'm going to take your calls. 877-337-6666. We'll be right back. Ringold back on the fan with you for another 20 minutes. Coming up at 6 a.m., Jerry and Sal with the morning show. Wow, I can't even talk this morning. Talking a long time. Nick Matina behind the glass. Hell of a job out there. Taking your calls, 877-337-6666. We had a couple of good callers during the last segment talking about maybe Met fans should, I don't know, maybe not hype up the whole Theo Epstein thing. Don't give their hopes up. It's only been talked about for a couple hours, 24 hours or so. But I'm going to continue to say I love it. I love the idea of having Theo Epstein come in. I know he has the opportunity eventually in the future, maybe become I don't know when, but he wants to be the next commissioner. I don't know how Rob Manfred is going to leave this job if maybe baseball kicks him out. But Rob Manfred's here for the long haul. And I think this is an opportunity for just to add another ring to his resume or another bullet point to his resume about fixing a team, Theo Epstein. Because Zack Scott, we've heard from last callers here, Zack Scott doesn't seem like he might be back. And before even with this DUI that he did, I don't think he would have came back. It's a shame because he was thrown in a situation after Jared Porter with his inappropriate text messaging, getting fired, and then Zack Scott was just kind of thrown into the mix. Just kind of given a team that he didn't officially assemble. There was a lot of good re-signings and good signings and good trades that went on during the offseason, but none of these guys are panning out. So once that doesn't happen, once all this negativity from the offense and from the pitching and the overall team happens, everything else is going to follow. The GM's going to get the blame. You're going to have the president get blamed on. The manager's going to get blamed on. And then Steve Cohen's going to get a lot of heat. And that's what just has happened. And the difference between the Steinbrenners and Steve Cohen, the Steinbrenners really just stay out of it when they can. Of course, they get asked about, the state of the team, and if there is an opportunity when the team is struggling. Look, Cashman came out and said we're playing like crap. It's nice to hear that once in a while, right, from a higher power at the Yankees. For Steve Cohen to tweet all the time, I think it's a problem in many cases. Is it entertaining from a fan's perspective? It could be. But in the grand scheme of things, having Steve Cohen tweet all the time just causes more negative publicity. It generates topics, but overall it just doesn't, it's not positive to have your owner just continuously just beat on your team. That's what it is. And Kevin from the Bronx says to give them some credit, talking about the New York Mets. Kevin, you're on the Fan. What's up?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Very good, very good. I was just saying to the other guy, let's give these guys some credit. It's a young team, okay? And there's a lot of big names on that team, okay? Except one guy they spent a lot of money on. We're not going to tell that. We're not going to talk about that. But you got to give these other guys credit. They're getting up there every day, throwing the ball, hitting the ball, and they're showing up, and they're doing the best that they can. They're a young team, and they got a new owner. And you got to give these guys some credit. They had a great half of the season, and they're in a slump. Maybe they get it together.
Yeah, but Kevin, when you say got to give them some credit and they're playing their hardest out there, I mean, that's cute and all, but you're playing in New York and you need to win. And when Steve Cohen, right, when Steve Cohen throws all the money at the wall and gets Lindor, he's got to perform. Right. Bat over 300, drive in 80 to 100 RBIs. Bat over 300, which is something where it's not even close to. He's not going to finish the season anywhere close to that. And
right, you're right.
Yeah, so I understand what you're trying to say, but if they were playing somewhat better and they just still were kind of losing, then I might give them a little bit more credit. But they're playing so poorly with all these big names, like they got McCann and Lindor. It's something that needs to. You can't have all these big names.
Maybe we should get 4 guys at $25,000 apiece that are more hungry than this Lindor guy.
That would be nice, wouldn't it, Kevin? Kevin, that would be nice. Thanks for the call, Kevin. But that's just not going to happen. But yeah, they're giving them some credit. It's I guess a nice way of saying I know what he's trying to say, but I'm not going to give him the credit because they haven't produced. That's what it is. If I was told, it just doesn't make any sense. Why would you give credit to a team that hasn't produced whatsoever this year? They've had moments. I've said it before. May, they went 17-9. They were the hottest team in baseball with the healthy DeGrom, and everyone else is pretty much healthy on this team. And people were producing, and some weren't. Lindor really wasn't producing during that time either. But then you have 2 months back-to-back at 500, and then this horrific month of August going 9-19. I can't give a team credit. And I can't say they've tried. I'm like, well, they have to try. It's their job. They have to go out there, and they have to play every day. And they have to be good. And they just haven't been good. This offseason is going to be so telling on what Steve Cohen's mindset is going to be like for the rest of his tenure as a owner. We saw what he wanted to do in his first offseason as the owner. We saw what he wanted to do. He got the guy that was probably the most, I'd say, most favorite guy to get signed was Lindor. There's a lot of other free agents, notable names with club options like Jose Ramirez and Arenado and Marcus Simeon's a free agent, Freeman and Brenton Bell, and of course Rizzo's a free agent. There's a lot of big names out there that could maybe help this team going forward, but Steve Cohen saw an opportunity to go grab somebody, and he did. And it's very impressive that he did it in his first year, but it's like, what have you done for me lately kind of thing? And we haven't seen it. And it is a shame, but I'm not giving a credit to a team that hasn't tried. They tried a little bit, but they haven't produced to what fans would say okay, you know what? They put their all out there. They're not putting their all out when they're focused on booing the fans and focused on getting, you hurt my feelings. If you don't like playing the game in New York, hey, you don't have to be here. Next year's coming quick. October's right around the corner, and you guys are not going to be in it. So you guys can figure out, if I'm a free agent, I don't want to come back. Then don't come back. It's pretty simple there. Playing in New York, honestly, it's a gift and a curse playing here in New York. You have the best fan base in the world and also the worst, because they critique you on every single thing. But you have to have a thick skin. You have to have a thick skin and be able to hone it and be able to hone this opportunity where I have the ability to play in a city and an area that loves me. And I have the opportunity to play really, really well. And some guys can really perform in opportunities like this, and some guys can't. And we're seeing Lindor and Baez are having a really hard time. We got Butch from South Yonkers on the fan. What's up?
Yeah, what's going on, boss?
What's up?
With the Mets players and stuff, when they get back, if they get Syndergaard back, that'll help them. You think they can go on a run for the last couple of weeks?
I don't think so, man. I don't think so at all. I think they should shut down Syndergaard. There's no reason for him to come back. There are too many games out. Syndergaard, a couple months ago when the Mets were pushing for a first place spot, I was kind of wondering, when Syndergaard comes back, what kind of role would he have? And I was saying to myself, hey, look, it'd be nice to have Syndergaard in the back end of the bullpen, kind of trying to bolster that bullpen up with what they have already. Be nice to have that, and you're just not going to see it. It's just not going to happen. 877-337-6666. I have 10 minutes left on the fan for this show. I want to hear you guys talk about these Yankees and Mets when we come back.